Okay, we'll ask our clerk if she'd call the roll for a quorum, please.
Commissioner Blakemore.
Present.
Commissioner Askew.
Here.
Chairman Whitfield.
Here.
Commissioner Hart.
Here.
Commissioner Stoltz.
Present.
All right, all board members are present. Thank you for that. We do have a quorum here tonight. So we do have a pretty lengthy agenda here, but board members, we do have some modifications to our agenda tonight. So this is several modifications here. So under our public hearing ordinances, ordinance number O-0124, which is to amend the land use code. I make a motion tonight that we table that one. Also, under the public hearings, the Hawks Ridge holding request for a partial rezone. I'd like to make a motion that we remove that one from the agenda tonight. Also, the next one under that, the Macklemore request for a special use permit for the shooting range. I make a motion that we remove it also from the agenda tonight. So in concert with those under new business, we would also have under new business the ordinance 01-24, which we would table it as well. And over on the last page, we would take and remove under action items the Hawks Ridge and also remove the Macklemore shooting range as well. So I make that all into one motion to remove and or table the ordinance. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Blakemore. Any further discussion of the board? All right. That motion does. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, those items are either removed or tabled from this meeting tonight. Okay. Next item we have is the approval of our minutes from our meeting that was held here on September the 12th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. The clerk has prepared these minutes. Is there any changes, modifications, concerns of these minutes of the board?
No, sir.
Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hart. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stoltz. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as presented by the clerk. Okay, also as we get started tonight, as we enter into our public hearing, and we'll take these one at a time and allow people to come up and speak, either for or against, and we're only going to be addressing the ones that are still on the agenda. So once we start here in a moment, we'll start out with ordinance O-224, which is the alcohol beverage code, and allow anyone to come up and speak. Before we do that, I've got a statement I'd like to read that we've read once before. But since we have a large crowd and have some of you that's probably your first time, I want to read this again. This is a statement on our public meeting decorum. As chairman of the Board of Commissioners, I have been tasked with addressing this issue of public meeting decorum tonight. We reside in the greatest nation in the world, and we have the privilege of raising our families in one of Georgia's most desirable communities. As citizens, we have the right and obligation to actively participate in our local government. Public meetings serve as a crucial platform for us to voice our concerns, share our ideas, and engage in constructive dialogue. However, it is imperative that we conduct ourselves with respect and civility during these gatherings. Disruptive behavior, personal attacks, pounding on the podium, and vulgar language have no place in our public meetings. Not only do they impede the commissioner's ability to conduct business effectively, but they also create an atmosphere of hostility and intimidation that discourage other citizens from participating. It is essential to recognize that we all share a common goal: to improve our community and make it a better place for everyone. While we may hold differencing of opinions, it is critical that we express them respectfully and constructively. I urge all citizens to be mindful of their behavior when attending public meetings. Let us strive to create a positive and productive environment where everyone feels welcome, respected, and heard. The board's desire that Walker County be known throughout the region as a community that can assemble and engage in meaningful public discussion professionally. To ensure that everyone has an opportunity to address the Board of Commissioners, we offer each person up to 5 minutes of speaking time. We kindly request that you focus your remarks or issues, concerns, or ideas directly related to Walker County. While we recognize the importance of national and global issues, our primary responsibility is to address matters within our own jurisdiction. Thank you for your attention and cooperation. Together, let's foster a respectful and productive public meeting environment that encourages active participation and positive outcomes for our community. Thank you. So at this time, the first ordinance that we will have a public hearing on, again, is Ordinance O-2-24. This is to make some amendments and modifications to the Alcoholic Beverage Code. This is the first of 2 public hearings. So this is the first time that this has been brought publicly with these modifications in the agenda packet. It is marked, the items that are being considered to be struck out or marked through, and then it inputs the items that are to be added. And then in our meeting in November, we'll have a second public hearing on this same document, which will give the board an opportunity to have more open discussion, more public comment. And then at that time, if the board feels appropriate, they at that time can make modifications and/or approve that ordinance change, or they can table it to a future meeting. It would be at the board's discretion. But all of our ordinance changes are a 2-step process, and they're advertised and publicized, and so it's about a 1-month process to get any type of ordinance change. So is there anyone here tonight that would like to speak regarding this ordinance? When you come up, please state your name for the record. We'll give you up to 5 minutes on this topic.
Jamie Hussey, Mr. Chair, appreciate it. Just to let you know, the citizens' decorum is, you work for us, we expect true transparency, accountability, and we don't see it, but we expect it. So that's our decorum. Why the change in proposal in the alcohol liquor stores and that sort of thing?
We'll have our planning director come and speak to that in a few minutes.
Okay.
We don't want to use up your time.
No, that's fine. It was just a question.
Yeah,
Why?
sure. We'll address that. Good question. Okay, thank you. Anyone else that'd like to speak? John, are you prepared? Do you want to come up and speak to that question?
Sure.
Okay. John personally is our planning director, and he and our county attorney have spent quite a bit of time. If you can just kind of give us a broad overview of some of these recommendations that you're bringing to the board.
Yeah, absolutely. So originally 5 stores were allowed, and that's what was voted on last year after the citizens voted to allow liquor stores in the community.
Per district.
Per district, 5 stores per district, 20 stores total. So currently in District 1 we have 3 stores. District 2 we have 3 stores. District 3 we had 3 applications for them, but only 1 store got into compliance within the timeline. And in District 4, we have 2 stores. So 3 stores was a trending number. The distance between there, after working with the ATF, and we had some issues with some stores trying to bring some things in. So it's like anything else you pass in an ordinance, you do run into challenges, things you can't see. And so we were 1 year into it when we decided to make some changes. And so this is just reducing the amount of stores per district and making it, stretching the distance out between each store. And then making you have, so license holders can have a sample license as well for taste tests and whatnot with products in their stores. So per Georgia law, you can't be in the parking lot with open containers. And so that was not in the ordinance prior, so this is adding that in there. So all sampling and all tasting has to be done inside the facilities. So the main reason is just the amount of stores. We were getting requests for variance to try to bring the stores closer, and the 1,500 foot distance, and the amount of citizens you have to have to supply each store. You know, you want a business to be successful when it comes in. And so we're seeing these stores trying to stack in on top of one another and then take up other spaces. So that's kind of where this all come about, just looking at that, revising it, working with the alcohol board. The ABC board was on board with doing this as well.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, John, I got one question.
Yes, sir.
When's the last, we haven't had anybody in how long, I know at least 6 months, but probably longer than that even had any interest in an application?
Yeah, I think 8 months was
so
the
that was
timeline.
part
So that was the time we kind of got the temperature in the community who was going to apply. We did have some folks, several come in and try to apply, or not try to apply, excuse me, had some questions on putting stores closer than 1,500 feet, 800 feet, 1,100 feet away from other ones. I wanted to cram those in there. And so, yeah, it was about 8 months roughly,
Also, too, it's my understanding, you've had a couple that have paid the permitting fee and got their license, and they have not pursued that once they looked and evaluated market conditions?
Yeah, that's correct. In District 3, we had 2 that had applied, and they were supposed, had 365 days to build a new store or 90 days to build out an existing building. So a few of those have failed in that, and they're not in compliance, and so they have been sent letters because of September last year was when they applied.
They've exceeded their permit time, and they've not moved forward, so we've rescinded.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Yeah. Please come forward.
Ned Yates, mine's just really a question. I don't know if I read it, which ordinance I read it in about the alcohol, but there was an ordinance that you could not have outdoor sampling of the goods. Now, when you've got farm wineries, they often do outdoor events and they sample their wines outside. Does that apply for this ordinance, or is that an exception, or has it been overlooked? Because Georgia Winery does a lot of, I know they're personal friends. I've got friends over in Dahlonega, same thing.
Distilled
John,
spirits and liquor stores.
just distilled, it's not wines.
Yes.
Okay, that's just,
Question, though.
that was, I'm going,
So it doesn't apply to wineries. Distilled spirits. And package and distilled spirits. Okay, thank you. Great question. Anyone else on this ordinance, public hearing? Yes, sir. Please come forward, Scott.
So I guess,
Please.
I
Okay, thank you.
guess just a quick question would be, so has the planning commission already done their part on this, or is this just coming straight to you guys too? Isn't this something the planning commission would have to go through them, not an ordinance?
No, we still have to have 2 public meetings,
Okay.
but since this deals
But the
with
planning commission don't get to say so on none of this, on this particular item. I mean, it's not gone through the planning commission process to where they said,
I don't think that it ever did go, this never has
It
been a
wasn't
planning
council.
commission item. It's a board function.
It was in consultation with the Alcohol Beverage
The Beverage,
Commission.
Alcohol Beverage Commission, who's over it,
Okay.
has been involved with it.
thanks.
Anyone else on this one? Okay, we're going to move forward to the next one, which is our ordinance 003-24 to amend the animal code. This is also our first hearing on this one, and then this one, there'll be no action on it tonight, but we are interested in any public comment, and then it will come back up at the November meeting for additional consideration. But anyone wants to speak on this ordinance number 3, dealing with animals? Yes, sir. Please come up. Please state your name when you start.
My name is Tim Bennett, and I had a simple question. As far as existing animals that a person may own that may or may not be spayed or microchipped, is this new ordinance going to be required for that to happen for those animals?
I'll let the attorney like to address that.
Well, that's a good question.
I mean, my animals are both spayed and microchipped, but it's a question that I'm sure someone's going to have.
I couldn't hear the question very well back there.
Any existing animals that someone has, like, that may not be spayed or neutered or microchipped, is it going to be required for them to be taken to be spayed, neutered, or microchipped?
If they are habitual offenders with animal control, yes.
There are fenced animals, never.
Speak up.
I'm sorry, I'm very sorry. If they're habitual offenders with animal control, yes. So this ordinance is going to be enforcement based. So if animal control is getting called out to your house because you have litters of puppies that are dying, they're sick, you're not caring for them, you're coming into the shelter with boxes of puppies, boxes of kittens, your dogs are intact, constantly running at large, reproducing throughout the entire neighborhood, those are the people that we are looking for. And they're not hard to find. We deal with them all day, every day. We just need a little bit of reinforcement to handle those people on the animal control side. And I don't know, do you want to speak about it?
Yeah, I mean, I would reiterate what she said. Basically the same thing. We're not going to go door to door, knocking on the door, requiring people to get their animals fixed. We have a rabies ordinance, sort of the same thing. We don't enforce that unless we've been out there numerous times and we're to the point now where we're writing a citation for violating the ordinance after we've warned them numerous times.
Yeah, so the answer is they're not going to be out knocking on doors saying we need to see your animal registration. It's going to be if animals are running at large, or if we're getting reports or complaints, or you're bringing animals constantly, bringing litters in and overpopulating the shelter. Those would be an enforcement action to get you into compliance, and also to help you get into compliance. A lot of times people don't have the resources. Emily's done a great job of getting grant funding and all to assist people with low-cost spade and neuter. We also do the microchipping in-house. And what's that, like $5?
It's $10.
$10.
But we do a lot of it for free because we have a lot of people that just really can't even afford $10. Yeah. So we're helping people the best that we can and as much as we can.
So our staff is, tries to work with everybody.
Can I ask a question?
You'll need to come back to the podium so they can hear you.
I think I'm loud enough.
Please come up. We can get you on camera too.
Ned Yates once more. My question is, all right, great. You've got a ordinance that indicates that a county official could come into your home. Do they need a warrant? Does there need to be a judge's? I mean, what about excesses by the government? What's to prevent that? Because I'm always looking at what your individual rights are. Is this, what's the safeguards for the citizen that the neighbor doesn't like them, and they say, well, they're having all these dogs, 10,000 dogs, and they've got one litter, but you've got a government official coming in citing you. What's to prevent that? I don't see it in the ordinance that I read.
I'd like to speak on that for you, Mr. Ned. As has been said, this is the first reading of a draft, and so these questions are very good to help us, because there'll be verbiage that will be needed to be changed in this draft. Verbiage added to exclude and to clarify, for, like for existing animals and properties, because I'm in full agreement. Government officials aren't going to drive down my driveway and tell me that unless I've caused a problem as well. It's a draft we need input on, but we're not. I don't think that's what it's for.
And also to expand on that, we do have a mandated officer in our animal control, and they sometimes do have to go get warrants to do inspections, but that goes through the magistrate and has to go through the proper process. Good question.
Yeah, I'll touch on that. We can't just go to magistrate and say, hey, these people don't have spayed and neuter dogs, we want in their house. The magistrate would laugh at us. The only way we can go get a warrant is if we have probable cause that there's neglect, abuse, or something that the magistrate judge feels comfortable with letting us go into someone's house. Because if magistrate signs off on it, they're in on it as well. So we can't just,
right. So
we don't have the staff to come to your house and say, is your dog fixed? No? Okay, well, you're getting a citation. We can't do all that. So it's not even going to be like that. And we know there's people that breed 1 litter a year. Those are not the people we're looking at. If you're not coming to the shelter and dumping boxes of puppies that we're having to be forced to euthanize, we're not worried about you. We know people are breeding cattle dogs. We know people are breeding their hunting beagles. You're not even on our radar. We don't even know you exist.
Well, and I just wanted to speak to that. Like I said, we will be adding some verbiage and looking at some verbiage that'll clarify that, and it'll be actually in the document itself.
We're just dealing with a lot of repeat offenders. We have what we call hotspots, neighborhoods, trailer parks, specific areas in different towns in the county where there's just an abundance of animals. And when the shelter gets overloaded, that's y'all's tax dollars that are feeding them, housing them, vetting them, transporting them. The staff is exhausted. We're emotionally spent. We have 150 dogs at any given time in the shelter. That's crazy. We've had over almost 2,000 dogs this year alone in Walker County. That's one county. We're just trying to fix the problem. So we just need a little bit of support to get there.
Thank you, Amber.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else on the animals? Yes, Ms. Janice?
I appreciate this ordinance
Please
because,
state your name for the record.
Janice Williams, I appreciate this ordinance because we have a tremendous overpopulation. But in addition to what is affecting the shelter and showing up at the shelter, we in the rescue community are continuing to see people breeding their dogs, selling them on Facebook, giving them away on Facebook. They're selling and giving them away unaltered, and most of them are pit size or larger. That's 11 puppies in a litter, 11 to 13. You take 11 to 13 unaltered puppies out and give them away to this person, that person, that person. They stay unaltered. They're all going to be reproducing also. And I would like to see an ordinance for locally to have some sort of restriction on backyard breeding so that you have a license if you're going to breed. I mean, literally 13 puppies. And when we see that, and we're frantically trying to find homes for them, because when they give them away, they haven't been wormed, they haven't been vaccinated. So the person that got them is faced immediately with veterinarian expenses that they don't have for their free puppy, and they end up going to rescue. And it costs the rescues a lot of money. But to reduce the tremendous overpopulation that we have, it doesn't need to be, I think it needs to be more than just the ones that are showing up at the shelter.
Thank you, good call. Anyone else? Yes, sir, in the back, you want to come forward?
Gary Williams. I just believe having to be spayed or neutered. I mean, some people may not be able to get a puppy unless some neighbor down the road has them and they're not, licensed or whatever. So I think the spayed and neutered requirements and definitely the microchipping is government overreach. That's all I got.
Anyone else on this topic? Yes, ma'am. In front.
Thank you.
Please state your name.
Deborah Corson. I moved to Chattanooga 20 years ago to become Vice President and General Manager at WFLI-TV. I moved to Walker County 5 years ago, and I love our community and my home here. I ran companies in a number of different cities before deciding to retire in Northwest Georgia. In every city, I always volunteered with local shelters and rescue organizations. When I moved to Chattanooga and began to volunteer, it was a well-known fact that the Walker County shelter was the worst of the worst. Animals arriving there were on a one-way conveyor belt to hell with little to no hope of finding help or a home. But now things are very different. I've seen the dramatic transformation of our shelter into a rescue organization working for the benefit of the people and animals in our county. The shelter employees work tirelessly to find vet care and homes for every possible animal. We all see irresponsible people daily in our lives in many ways, but when people are irresponsible with animals, it is tragic for both that animal as well as our community and those trying to address the crisis of pet overpopulation. For For the price of a carton of cigarettes, folks can now get dogs and cats spayed or neutered and vaccinated. There's no excuse for our county to look like a third world country. Please make this mandatory in our community, not only for the animals, but for our wonderful employees at the Walker County Shelter. You clearly now have folks there who care about the animals. It is soul-crushing for them to see perfectly healthy animals euthanized for space as victims of irresponsible people and for no other reason. As hard as rescue organizations and shelters work to save animals, we can't rescue ourselves out of this. We just can't. There aren't enough people to do it. It's a terrible crisis of pet overpopulation. The only answer is mandatory spay-neuter for those people who are irresponsible, along with education. We have to end the suffering. Do it for the animals, but just as importantly, do it for your colleagues at the shelter. Their jobs are incredibly challenging, stressful, and emotional. Be an example for all Georgia counties and be groundbreakers for animal welfare. They can't speak for themselves, and they depend on you. Thank you to all the people at the shelter for all you do behind the scenes. You are truly heroes.
Thank you for your comments. Very good. Thank you. Anyone else on the animal ordinance? Yes, sir. Please come forward. Please state your name.
Daniel Dupree, I'm gonna give it a try. I think the ordinance needs to be very specific. It needs to be honed down to very, very tightly, because ordinances can just get out of hand, and I think the people that are abusing the animals now, they probably also are involved with law enforcement or other issues. So there's probably other things going on. So I think you need to really focus in on the people who are creating the problem, rather than applying something that applies to everybody that doesn't need to. So.
Thank you. Anyone else? Emily, do you have something else?
Yeah, I just want to clarify a few things.
For those of y'all that don't know, Emily Sadler is our animal shelter director. She's been with the county, what, about 5 years?
5.5.
5.5 years in that capacity.
As far as not being able to obtain a puppy, Walker County is overflowing with puppies. We have puppies growing up in our shelter. They came in this big, they're this big. Our adoption fees are waived. They've been waived over a year. The animal comes spayed, neutered, dewormed, microchipped, vaccinated, the whole 9 yards, $0. Very easy to obtain a puppy, as long as you're not on our records for any kind of animal control instances. Second of all, I know some people were concerned about people not being able to afford spay neuter. We have a donation account at the shelter that our citizens and people outside of the county that support us have been donating to for years. So we've been spaying and neutering public animals since July. We've got a run right now. One of our employees is picking up animals right now, about 30 public spay neuter animals. So we've been doing that every week. So the resources are there. That's just what I'm trying to say. As far as your question, it has to be broad because it's an ordinance. It's just like any other law. The speeding law pertains to all of us, but if you don't speed, you don't get in trouble. So that's kind of where we're at with that. We just have too many people that are causing too many problems that all of y'all are paying for with your money, with your tax money. We have a really big budget at the shelter. It could always be bigger, but we take what we get and use it as wisely as possible. Y'all are spending a lot of money housing, feeding, vetting, transporting, and euthanizing animals that don't even have to be born. They're unwanted. Nobody wants them. We've got 150 dogs at our shelter. Nobody wants them. Free of charge, fully vetted. Nobody wants them. So we have a very compassionate staff, and it's hard to euthanize animals. It's devastating. So anyway, that's my soapbox.
Would you want to speak, Rick?
Yeah.
Please come up, state your name.
You talking about all this, she's talking about get little puppies. I'm Ricky Austin.
Ricky Austin.
Get little puppies this big, now they're grown. Won't you solve the problem before they get grown? If they don't get them with a puppy, who's gonna come and get a grown dog? I mean, do something. Ain't no need the taxpayers just keep forking out all this money to take care of them dogs nobody wants.
True.
I mean, that's how I look at it.
Yes, sir. You wanted to be next?
Yeah, Kenneth Wilson. I know there's a lot of dog lovers here, and I hear that this ordinance, they're not going to do this and do that, but they can do it, from what I'm understanding here. You know, I don't want them coming on my property. You know, I've got a yard dog. I have no intention of getting it neutered or spayed or this chip put in it. I'm against chip to start with. I just wish there was this much emphasis on the unborn children as they are on the dogs.
Please state your name.
Jim Weathers. I came to speak on a different topic, but after listening to everybody here, it's like the society that nowadays they just want to throw a blanket over the whole problem and solve it with everybody. But it's not all of our problems. I mean, I've got dogs that I've had since I raised dogs all my life. I mean, had pups or what, you know, something for me. And I keep them, I got a graveyard full at my house with my dogs when they pass away. And so, people that are doing this puppy, what do you call them, puppy meals or something, find these people, put them in jail, whatever it takes. If they get a fear of, just like you do if you drive down the road and you speed, you get a ticket. So if you're raising these dogs and doing all this with them and leaving them there starving, put them in jail, let them pay somewhere. I mean, it shouldn't be thrown off on all of us. I don't want my dog spayed. I got one and he don't go nowhere. He goes, except it's with me and he's on the leash. And I got another one it's been spayed. But anyway, people the government wants to throw a blanket on it like everything can be solved by everybody else out here. The law, it's like with the guns and stuff you talk about, take guns away from the law-abiding citizens. You know, well, same way with dogs. You got dogs that are law-abiding citizens that take care of their dogs and treat them like they're supposed to be. And they don't have that issue. I don't raise puppies. I don't have a bunch of puppies every year or two. And I just wish that personal responsibility would come back into view on some of these ordinances, because it's not being, everybody has to suffer because of some few bad ones. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? It's just one person, one time.
On your side, Shannon.
I know, but we've got to be fair. Anyone else? We'll have still public comment you can address in public comment. Anyone else on this topic? We got a lot to cover tonight. Yes, sir, Tyler, do you have something else? Also, Tyler is our one of our animal control managers. We're going to let him speak.
So I would just like to piggyback on what everyone's talked about. So we have DOA laws. You're only allowed to have one litter. We do the best we can to enforce ordinances that we already have. For example, today I went on a call in a trailer park on the north end of the county. The woman has 3 total litters herself. She doesn't know what she's going to do with them. I've had her in court numerous times. She's paid her fines, paid the stipulations, but not having this spay-neuter ordinance really doesn't prevent this from continuing to happen and burden the shelter and the citizens' taxpayers' money.
Thank you, Tyler. Okay, we're going to move forward on our agenda. Now we're going to get into our planning and zoning public hearings. So the first one is Teresa Huddleston requests a variance for property located at 131 Stone Creek Road, Rising Fund, Georgia 30738. This is on tax map and parcel number 0-227-006. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Okay, did not know that. Okay, so that first one there has withdrawn their application. So that one's been pulled. So we'll just move forward with the next one. Travis Ponzelbon requests a variance for property located at 14491 Highway 151, Trine, Georgia, 30753. Tax map and parcel number 0-486-010. Anyone in opposition of this variance?
I would like to speak for it. I'm Travis.
Okay, anyone in opposition though first? Okay, hearing none, Mr. Travis, if you want to come up, you're the applicant. We'll give you up to 5 minutes as well, sir. Please speak your name as you start.
I'm Travis Ponzelbon. I moved to Walker County from Alabama about 10 months ago. I purchased 3.5 acres and a brand new mobile home. After I moved out here, I'm a repossession agent, and work has been absolutely horrible this year. And along with the brand new mobile home, they don't want to cover anything under warranty. So I've been out about $13,000 repairing stuff on a brand new house. I'm now in a financial burden and I cannot afford, and I'm on the verge of losing stuff. So out of the 3.5 acres, I would like to sell off one of the acres. I have about 15 potential buyers for it that are wanting to place a house or a mobile home there. I don't think it'll negatively affect anybody around me, as all the property right there is mainly treed. The property on the backside of me is nothing but trees. So that's really it.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else on this one? Okay. Harris requests a rezone for A1 agriculture to R2 residential for property located at 657 Cannon Road, Lafayette, Georgia, 30728. Tax map and parcel 0-342-001B. Anyone here in opposition on this one? Any opposition? Yeah, you can ask questions. Yeah, you are in opposition?
Opposed to it?
Yes.
No, I'm not opposed.
Okay, let me let you go last.
Okay.
So, are you the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Let me let you go last. Okay, Ms. Halsey, if you want to come up, please state your name.
Melissa Halsey, and I just have really some clarifications, and I'm sorry if this is in here and I didn't see it. What is the total acreage of this piece of property? Where's John? Does he know?
It doesn't state in the packet.
It's 8 acres.
8 acres.
It's combined because part of the parcel's across the street.
Right.
On Ballard and I don't know if you know where Ballard Road is, Ms. Halsey, but
Yeah,
it's a corner of Ballard and Sandy there, so it's part of it's across the street with a house on it. In the land, there's other parcels across the road.
So approximately 8 acres.
Okay, approximately 8 acres. And where's John? I hear you talking, but I can't see.
John, can you please come up?
There
Why
you
don't you
go.
come on up, John?
I just want to know, are any of the surrounding properties that touch it R2, or are they all A1?
There's several parcels to the south that's R2.
That touch this property?
Yeah, they're across the road. Yeah, where's your map, and I'll show you exactly where they're at. So those parcels there are R2. They're,
Right here?
yes, that's right.
Okay, those are R2.
That's right. So this parcel here, actually, part of it's across the road. They don't have a good cutout of it there, but yes, there's R2
Okay.
zoning in that same area there.
I mean, just a general concern, nothing specifically negative against this particular rezone because it does touch R2, but, you know, again, we're an agricultural county and I don't want us to get into the habit of rezoning A1 to R2 just to protect our ag land, so, but thank you.
Okay, is the applicant still with us? Sir, did you want to speak on this one? Would you like to speak?
Come forward.
Yeah, please come forward and we'll give you time, and please just state your name.
Stevie Harris, speaking on behalf of my mother, Janelle Harris.
Okay.
She has 3 grandchildren, and she'd like to split the 7 acres off so they can split it up between them. One's in college, other one is in high school, and Lacey, her granddaughter, will be putting it all in her name at the present time. And later on, if the other 2 grandkids would like to build a house on it, they have the opportunity to.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else on that one? All right, we'll move forward. Again, the Hawks Ridge has been removed. McLemore's been removed. So that takes us now to our public comments, and this is the time that we ask anyone that would like to come up and speak. The Board of Commissioners, we give you up to 5 minutes and you can speak on any topic. It does not have to be on the agenda. You can stop or speak on any topic. So we'll start with Ms. Janice, please.
Thank you. Janice Williams again. Still addressing the spay and neuter issue. Something that I'm not sure if everyone understands, the medical risks involved as your dog or cat gets older if it's not altered. My specialty is senior special needs dogs, and my house is the loving land of misfit dogs. And they are older dogs that have been thrown away because people can't afford the vet care, because the older a dog gets, if she's unaltered, the larger the risk that she's going to get pyometria, breast cancer. Those are high dollar vet bills, and people can't afford them, and they end up dumping them. And nothing is sadder than seeing a senior dog that's lived with somebody for 14 years and all of a sudden they're in a shelter and somebody has to find a place for them to go. The same medical risks are involved with male dogs. They're at high risk of testicular cancer the older that they get, and it's harder on them. If you don't want to have puppies, it's not a big deal for a simple surgery when they're young enough to have a surgery like that, because the complications as they get older are difficult. And in addition to the problem with all of the ag area that we have in our county, a lot of people, I have 30 acres, I never put my dogs on a leash, I don't need a fence, I've got all this land. Your unaltered male that roams on your property or off of your property, you don't know how many dogs that he's getting pregnant, because when they roam, they're roaming for a reason. They smell a female somewhere, and that's what they do. That's their job, other than obeying you, is to go out and impregnate. And then we got puppies coming, nobody knows who the father is. But more than anything, I wanted everybody to understand, because everybody loves their pets. And the medical risks in not getting them spayed and neutered is a tremendous thing to think about, because it's very, very hard on the animal to have surgeries. Pyometria is life-threatening. You're not going to get a lot of symptoms of pyometria before your dog is about to die. It is an emergency surgery when that happens. Pyometria is an infection in the womb. So there's no worms in the poop, there's no blood in the pee. That's going on and you don't know it until it's life-threatening, and that increases as they get older. And I just wanted everybody to understand that it's not just a matter of put your fist down and say you have to spay and neuter your dogs. It's a compassionate thing to do for your animal as well. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anyone else, public comment? Yes, sir, Scott?
I'll share with everybody out in the public. I'll pass you guys a copy. Y'all can have your own. I appreciate the time to speak. Board, Mr. Gottlieb, and the clerk for your time. Take a minute. Maybe Shannon won't put me out of time. I'll let y'all just pass them around. I'll get speaking. There's 3 copies for everybody. Anyway, I got involved with this. I know it got withdrawn, and I'm kind of concerned what withdrawn means. Does it have to go back before the planning commission or whatever? But I got involved. A lifelong friend called me, and he had a friend out on Lookout Mountain. It kind of really affects this guy quite a bit. So he called me, and like I said, there's been no ground survey done or nothing like that. It's all documentation. It's available for anybody to go pull, plats, deeds, whatever. But Mr. Compton owns this right in here, and he also owns this down through there. And several months ago, I guess, whatever, he was enlightened with a realtor or whoever, saying that this piece was for sale or somebody had bought it or whatever. Then so we started looking into it, and what I did was, per the county codes, actually Macklemore was at the planning commission Thursday night, and they met 0 criteria for the planning and zoning ordinance. So I kind of presented this little drawing, and I'll get to some details, but basically this green area right here, per the county ordinances, is a 500-foot undisturbed existing natural forest buffer. And you can see that, I mean, this is the only area that's usable within this particular area where they're wanting to put this sporting place. They own the entire orange boundary. But, so, you know, putting all this together and talking with JL and just getting involved, there's a lot of things there's 2 access easements that JL has rights to that basically they're just going to try to bully him and push him out of the way, but there's one of them is actually used by American Tower and the forestry company. So I got into a little deeper and started doing a couple of open records requests, just trying to find some more information. And I received two pieces of paper, a copy of the permit, and then I also received a partial piece of a tax map that had 3 parcels with blue lines. You know, it just wasn't even the whole tract, for one. So I sent back to our Mr. McGee and asked for some more information. And it took about 3 or 4 hours, but all of a sudden I got this drawing. And I just want y'all to see this. This wasn't part of the package that Mr. JL received, Compton received, when he got his letter about this fixing to happen. This was sent to he and I. We don't know where it came from, and apparently nobody else does, because I've asked. And you can see, this is Highway 157. Here's Highway 157. When we got it, this thing shifted 2,000 feet east. It's hanging off of the bluff of Mountain Cove. So I'm concerned, for one, where this document came from and why somebody would send it out, for one.
Got 1 more minute.
And then, you know, Mr. Horton met JL up there on site several times, or last week or before the meeting, and was offering him a lot of things. Employment, a lifetime exclusive membership to Macklemore. I mean, that's pretty strong. When they've got, Macklemore has 375 acres directly across the street from where they are now, which could easily be used for firing range or whatever they want, sporting clays, whatever. But I don't think they want it up there where those guys are playing golf along number 10 to have to hear it. Maybe I don't know. But there again, I'm a lifetime resident of Walker County, and for me to contact someone at the county and them send me this, I'm upset. For one, that's uncalled for. And
Thank you,
like I
Mr.
said,
Dab. Your time has expired.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Please state your name.
Jay McClure, and I own property that's about a half a mile due southeast of the corner of this property here, right across Hogjaw Creek. As noted, the special use permit was denied by the Planning Commission due to the ordinance requiring a plan showing 500-foot buffer, which was not provided. The ordinance, section 22-321, actually sets up 8 requirements for this special use application to even be considered for approval. This application and this drawing meet none of those 8 requirements. The Planning Commission was left with no option but to deny this application. My wife is going to address the issue of whether this Board of Commissioners has any authority whatsoever to even hear this case and to act on it, which they don't, according to the code. I'm going to put a little more meat on the bone on this. This is a 95-acre site. This site, which again is owned by Macklemore, and I don't believe this site is owned by Macklemore. I think that they have a 5-year lease with an option to purchase. So they have no obligation to actually buy this land yet. That's my understanding. They've got 330 acres or so here, undeveloped, which on their website, they designate this as a recreational area for the benefit of this club. This is recreational use. It needs to be on that property. One of the requirements under the code for approval of this application is that this site has to accommodate all of the uses that are proposed for this site. The only place it can accommodate those uses is in this donut hole. There are 20 stations on this drawing. 16 of them encroach on the buffer. Only 5 fit within the donut hole. Any of you who have shot on a sporting clays course know that you can't compress this into that space or people will be shooting each other. This red line is a perpetual access and utility easement for the benefit of Mr. Compton, American Tower, and this is State Forestry over here. State Forestry has a fire tower. All 3 of those folks get to use that easement. It's perpetual. If Macklemore buys this property, they cannot touch that easement. That easement runs right through this area here. Now, I understand, as Scott mentioned, that Mr. Horton has offered Mr. Compton some benefit for allowing him to move this off that site, which he's refused to do, and rightfully so, because this serves his property back here as well as these other properties. So the long and short of this is that this site, which does not fit on this 95 acre, or this use which does not fit on this 95 acre site, needs to be moved to the 330 acre site where it absolutely fits and probably doesn't require a buffer at all and is a designated area. Which begs the question, why not there on the 330 acres? Well, why not there? Because the gun club members, families, guests, people who live at Macklemore Club would be subjected to ungodly onslaught of noise, disrupt the health, human safety, and welfare of those people, and it would devalue their property. So what did the club do? They said, well, here's a better place. Let's move it down here 10 miles to the south where we can disrupt the lives of these people and devalue their property and subject them to potential harm or danger by accessing through that property, which they have the absolute right to do. If this petition comes back to this Board of Commissioners, and I understand that it probably will, I'm submitting a notice of constitutional challenge to this board, and I'd ask that you hand that to the clerk and it be made a part of this record, because there will be an appeal to the Superior Court if this gets acted on by this board, much less approved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please state your name.
Good evening. My name is Kathy McClure. It's my husband, Jay. We've owned property on Lookout Mountain, in Macklemore Cove, on top of the brow for over 20 years. I'm here to speak about what I consider procedural irregularities. We have researched the code, your code, the Walker County Code, to determine why it is that this Board of Commissioners is even had this item on its agenda, the Macklemore Cove issue, Macklemore Gun Club issue. The law is clear. We don't need to be trained attorneys to see that the Planning Commission in 22-319D has the power, is delegated the power to decide appeals with respect to special use permits class 3. There's no ambiguity here. And I, for the life of me, can't figure out why this showed up on the agenda. Now, and so I'm raising an objection to the fact that this body took it upon itself to act as though it had the power to do anything with respect to this application. So I've made that clear. We spoke with David Gottlieb and expressed these concerns to him and really didn't hear back from him about this really serious legal issue, we think. We now hear that this board has removed this item from the agenda at the request of the applicant. Is that correct?
It has been removed tonight.
But that was done at the request of the applicant because the quote applicant has withdrawn its application. So it's good to go back and hearken to what happened last Thursday night in front of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission considered this matter. They are presented with a very detailed, the 22-321 is an extremely detailed ordinance, and there are numerous objective requirements that must be met. And Mr. Horton showed up, and he had not met a single requirement, including this drawing here, which apparently was not part of the proper application and is off-site and really doesn't meet any of the specifics related to the drawing, which must be to scale. None of that was done, and then along with many, many other specific requirements of this ordinance. Well, the Planning Commission heard all that, and they were disturbed by this too. And they were most disturbed by the buffer issue, because there was no plan. This plan here does not, as is required specifically by the code, does not draw where the buffer exists. And that in of itself is what caused, on motion of one of the Planning Commission members, to move to deny the motion. The motion was unanimous. The vote was unanimous. The minutes of the Planning Commission do not reflect that unless they've been amended. They just say it carried, the motion carried. I want this board to know that the Board of Commissioners, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to deny this application. And that's where it stood. So where we are now is the applicant, I don't know what it means to deny an application, to withdraw an application that has been denied.
One more minute.
One more minute. And the answer is it's meaningless. The application has been denied. The applicant has the ability to appeal back to the Planning Commission and failing that to state court. And that's where we are now. Now maybe Mr. Horton has decided he's got a big tangle on his hands here. He's got a lot of people that are upset, including me, about the fact that I would have to listen to rounds and rounds of gunshot. And so here we are. And this, this commission has no power here. If Mr. Horton reapplies, you guys have nothing to do with that. So I hope you'll take my concerns to heart. It's all about doing things properly. Thank you.
I'd like to speak to that for you too, because I just wanted to clarify for you something.
Okay, I'd love to hear.
As per the Enabling Act, which is the legislation that we went from a sole commissioner to a board on, that's what we work off of. And it clearly states in one of the items, it's actually item 10 on page 7. So we for years worked under a sole commissionership, and when the citizens voted for a board, this Enabling Act was put together by legislation, and it says on this particular statement, to exercise all powers, duty, and authority formally imposed upon or vested in the commissioner of Walker County, which was the sole commissioner at the time. It tells all those powers of the commissioner of Walker County in respect to zoning and planning. Everything planning and zoning by the Enabling Act does come to this board by the legislative act that we worked under. And I'd be glad to get you a copy.
Well, it's really interesting to me that your attorney didn't point that out, and not to mention this aspect of the code.
I just wanted to point it out.
I appreciate you doing that. This part of the code, 22-319, has not been amended properly then. You've got a problem with your code.
You're exactly right, and that's exactly why there's ordinance amendments that we're trying to amend.
Well, you needed to get around to it, because this is improper, that the Board of Commissioners is trying to interfere with what power currently exists with the Planning Commission.
There's not any power that currently exists. Not by the
I heard what you said. Thank you for explaining it to me.
Thank you.
Because your attorney didn't do that.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I'm J.L. Compton. I own these 2 tracks right here, like they said earlier. I have the 2 right-of-ways. As you can see, I got a lot at stake. This is my livelihood that's being messed with. I got 3 kids, my wife. We've worked our whole, I'd say it's 2004 I bought this back track, and I've just tried to add as much as I can. I managed this track right here for the last 15 years. I know every inch of it. This Gulf, if it comes again, and I know it will, I know they're going to try to do this again. But you see what we're dealing with. I have this 30-foot right-of-way and the 50-foot right-of-way. I think that needs to be stepped over 500 feet. How would you feel if that was your house right here and you had this going in right here and you had all your money invested in this land? How would y'all feel? How would you feel if it was in your backyard and you had somebody trying to bribe you with jobs, bribe you with membership? I don't want their membership. I work for a living. I work across the street over here. I've been up here for over 15 years, and we love it on that mountain. It's a beautiful place, and it's going to be ruined. It's going to be ruined for the whole community. Mountain Cove, it's one of the beautifulest places in all of northwest Georgia, and there's going to be shotguns. I sit on my back porch. I just built a new house this last summer, and from Mountain Cove, I can hear every shot of the dove fields, and that's one weekend out of the whole year. Can you imagine hearing 5,000 to 10,000 shots a day, 6 days a week, off your back porch in less than 2,000 feet? I'm upset. I just wanted to push that in front of you, and I hope if it comes before again, that you can think of me and think of my family and think of all the families around it. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Kirk Weatherman, and I live on the property also next door, but on the north side. And I love this area. I value the tranquility, quietness, and beauty that this part of the cove has. And this letter, this whole episode is quite a rug pull that it even could be happening to me. But I wanted to talk a little bit and then lead back in. There was some talk last week at the planning committee about precedents by how B&Bs and camps allow commercial activity on ag and residential zone land, and how this will be similar. And I came up with some tests that why that would be. That would include, like, does the B&B substantively affect anybody's life? Yes or no? B&B, no. Does the B&B substantially affect anybody's property value? Yes or no? B&B would be no. So it's pretty much harmless, kind of common sense. In a camp, I live right across the street from a camp. It passes those same tests to me. If I compare this activity to those same tests, does it affect my life substantially? Absolutely, yes. I know for a fact firsthand experience, what shots over here on this land, fired by Mr. Compton probably, sound like 1,500 feet away or more in my property. And if I extrapolate shots fired every day, all day, and more on weekends, I'll be driven out of there. So it fails that test. And does it affect our property values? Everybody here that lives in this area, it's going to affect the property values. And if I dare say, I'm going to say you're negligent in the sense that I haven't seen any, when we were at the Planning Commission, it seems like it was really close to being pushed through last week, and I thought it was going to be pushed through this week. I haven't seen the simplest of any due diligence study or impact or try to quantify what the collateral damage of this project will bring about, property value, etc. So I'm not sure where to go off there. There's other harmonious places. There's incentives here that it might be, and I might step on your toes. It might be public-private. I haven't been part of a partnership. I haven't been following the county politics at all until this last week. I just read a few meeting notes last night. But I'm trying to understand the incentives, why this can be, because the developer has no incentive and he does not talk to the locals. What's the advantages for us? There isn't any. It's all negative. I believe the purpose of this is to go get some tourist income, but there's no incentive to find a harmonious location. Because he will get the tourist income here, but he's also going to cause millions of collateral damage and property values from all of us. And I have a problem with that. And it's going to force me out. I won't be able to tolerate it. And probably have to sell at distress level. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Please come up and state your name.
My name's Tim Arlo. I live on the bluff at 222 Highway 157. And this shooting range here, it's owned by a lot of money. They renting this place or leasing it for 5 years to buy. Now, I've worked in high rises for 40 years, so I know what big money does. This don't work, you change it. That's all they're gonna do. They're gonna go back before the board or whoever they gotta go to submit their drawings to, and they're gonna try to take as many of these out as they can and close it up and put it back in effect. Then it's gonna come before the process again, and then it'll come through y'all again, which we will have to hear all of this noise on top of that mountain. It's gonna affect all of the wildlife. You can kiss your wildlife goodbye, because once you have, if it's 1,000 or 10,000, I don't care what it is a day, if you're shooting, the wildlife is gonna stay away from that area within 10 miles. So it's gonna echo up and down that valley. It already does, all right? My main concern with this project is what they're gonna do. If they have an accident, and that's my main concern, if they have an accident on this property, I had to call the law to my house one time. It took them an hour to get there. If somebody gets hurt on that property, seriously, it'll take them every bit of 45 minutes to an hour for EMS to get to them. Are they gonna live or are they gonna die? It's a flip up. They don't care. As long as they get their money here. And this is gonna be a business. They're gonna say it's a shooting range. Okay, it's a shooting range. They can shoot 12-gauge shotguns. But like somebody brought up here, once they set up, they'll start selling vests. They'll start selling hats. They're selling memberships. They're gonna bring everybody in from outside of our neighborhoods. And like the people said, you wouldn't want it in your backyard. So why should we have to have it in ours? That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioners, my name is Steve Bridges, and I live about a mile and a half north of this site. Some of the 220 acres would be closer than that to me, but the actual site where this says it's going to be is about a mile and a half. I could frankly talk about this all night, about why it's a bad idea. Now, some people have already said some of the things I'm going to say. I'm going to try to limit the repeat, but there will be some repetitive things here because, quite honestly, some of this stuff cannot be said enough. I want to make 3 points, and I want to ask you a question before I sit down. The first point I want to make is that I believe if this is approved, and I've heard disputes about who has to approve it, and I'm not trying to get into that, but that whoever it's approved by, it will result in a fundamental change in the quality of life for those of us that live anywhere close to 2 to 3 miles radius from this thing, which includes people in the valley, includes people on the mountain. And that change, that fundamental change will not be good. And it's probably, now I don't have any expertise and haven't gone out and done studies, but it's probably an even larger area than that because we do have a little bit of experience with the dove shoot that DNR puts on during dove season every year. Some of you may have participated in that. That place that they do that dove shoot is further away from my house. That's the point I want you to hear. It's further away from my house, although I don't know the exact distance, than what this site is. Probably by a half a mile to 3/4 of a mile further away. We definitely hear the shots from that gun, from that dove shoot. In fact, you can hear that inside my house when the dove shoot happens. I can tolerate that for 3 or 4 days a year when they're having that dove shoot. But I can tell you right now, I don't want to tolerate that, and I don't think I should be made to tolerate that year-round, 6 days a week. And that's what the application's asking for. And so that incenses me, to be honest with you, to even think about somebody would consider approving that and basically harming all of the people up there in that area. My wife is originally from Lafayette, and her parents actually lived in Mountain Cove when she was born. So we've got ties to this area. One of the things we enjoy the most about our property is sitting out on our bluff side porch, enjoying the view and the peace and quiet. And this is going to be gone if this is approved. The second point that I want to make is you, as the Board of Commissioners, have a duty to consider the detrimental impact that the approval of this shooting range will have on the property that's actually owned by Mountain Cove Farm as a part of Mountain Cove Farms in the valley. Now, it's pretty clear to me that if there's shots there being heard 6 days a week and all the rounds, the number of rounds that I guess JL said, you guys rent out cabins, you guys rent out the show barn for wedding venues, and you do it for twice a year. There's a music festival up there, Bluegrass. And look, you think anybody's gonna rent it for a wedding in the middle of a dang war zone? I don't. And I'm telling you, it's right off the mountain, right straight down. They're gonna hear it. Now, since I've only got 1 minute left, I'll skip to my question for you, because I think it's extremely important. I heard the motion that was made when this was taken off the agenda. The motion that was made, as best I could write it down, and if your secretary can correct me if I'm wrong, but it said to remove and/or table. I've dealt with Robert's Rules of Order in other venues over my career. There's a big difference between remove and table. Under Robert's Rules of Order, as I have understood it in the past, if you've tabled this, any member of this board at some future meeting without further public notice and without it being on an agenda can in fact make a motion to bring that that issue off the table. If it gets a second and you pass it, then you can pass that without any further notice. Now, I want to ask you if that's your intent.
Okay, so your time has expired, and I'll clarify what my motion was, but your time has expired. What I indicated, because I wrote it down here, and it'd be part of the record, we'll make sure the minutes and everything's agreeable. What was tabled was the land use ordinance. What was removed was Hawks Ridge. Macklemore was removed. On the public hearings under new business, land use was tabled. Hawks Ridge was removed, and Macklemore was removed. So thank you for your comments.
So does that mean that they would have to come back and start over again with this application?
Yes, sir. It's been removed. There'll be no action on this tonight.
I understood that all along. That's not what I asked. I asked you, will they have to come back and start over?
It's been removed. Yes, sir.
Still didn't answer my question.
Hi, I'm Trey Cumming. I represent an HOA of 11 cabins, and we sit on 60 acres right south of this right here. And we're all on the bluff. They're recreation. Prior to living there for 3 years, I lived 20 years in Rome, Georgia. I had 47 acres. We backed up to the Floyd County Wildlife Association. You know what they do there? They shoot guns all the time. Fortunately for me, there's a huge mountain behind my acreage, so I didn't have to hear it that much. A lot of these people will agree, they don't mind an occasional shotgun, somebody hunting or something like that, but this is gonna be a war zone. I mentioned last time, a shotgun puts out 140 decibels of sound. How are you gonna hide that on a cove, on a bluff? I mean, I can't even sit on my porch if this thing happens. I'll have to sell it. I was hoping to retire there and enjoy it. I don't have to wait till 6 o'clock for happy hour for them to quit. That's crazy. So anyway, we got 11 cabins, a lot of different people. We spent a lot of time, a lot of money up in that area. I'd hate to go somewhere else. Thank you.
Please state your name, please.
I'm Connie Bradshaw, and this is actually Shelley Roach. She's the Director for Unified in Recovery. Did you all get my email that I sent maybe about 3 weeks ago? I sent it to all of y'all.
Yes.
And then I sent a follow-up email about what the proper procedure you wanted for the request I made in the email, but I never got a reply back.
We haven't made any action on that or put that on the agenda yet, so we'll have some more conversation with you since that's a budget request.
Okay, so just to clarify then, because she did not know either on how, because she's an RCO, or recovery community organization that serves Walker, Catoosa, Dayton, Chattooga, but she primarily works in, Walker County as far as recovery goes. Does she need to
Yeah, we need to set up a meeting sometime for you to come into the office.
Okay.
At the commissioner's office, and we'll have a conversation with you and see what we would want to consider to bring before the board as an action item.
Okay, will that be anytime soon? Because
yeah, we can probably get together.
we're growing fast, and we are.
We should be able to get together next week.
Well, yeah. So Shelley's asking how long these funds have been here, and it's.
You're speaking of the opioid funds,
Yes,
correct?
yes, that were directly given to the county.
Yeah. So they've been coming in for probably a year.
Since 2022.
I'm speculating, we didn't pull the records, but they're coming from different entities, as y'all well know, that have filed settlements and all with the state.
Right, but there's a portion that goes to each county.
Yes,
That
is
the
sent
county
directly.
decides who they can allocate those funds to. And then
It's
there's also
restricted-
grants.
It's restricted funds. That's correct.
So I just printed out the Google road maps for the opiate settlement and where they should go and where they shouldn't. So I did not attach that to the email because I didn't have it at that time. It was hard getting the amounts for each county, so.
Okay, good information.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, do you know if it'll be this month
I'll
or?
email you back the first of the week. We'll set up a time.
Okay. All right, thank you.
y'all. Yes, sir.
My name is Cal Hart, and I just had another comment about the shooting range. I live about 3.5 miles from there, and I'm basically here for my wife. She's retired military, she's disabled, she's combat veteran, she has PTSD, she suffers a lot of neurological problems, migraines, chronic migraines. She didn't make it tonight because she's home with a migraine. And I'm really afraid with this shooting range, that's going to really affect her quality of life, not being able to be outside. Because the shooting, we hear it, people hunting, we don't have a big piece of property, but we're right in the middle of a lot of property. And we moved there for the peace and quiet. She retired in 2017, and I've pretty much been her caregiver since. And she said today, if this passes, we'll move, because she won't be able to handle it. The shooting, the noise, it will trigger her PTSD, which triggers her stress.
Hold just me, excuse me, we're getting a lot of noise out of the back. Could y'all take your conversation outside or please limit your conversation, please? Thank you. Yes, sir.
But all that noise and the shooting will trigger her PTSD, which will trigger her stress, which, will trigger migraines. And when she gets a migraine, she's down. She's down for the day, and sometimes a couple of days. I mean, we travel to Nashville every 3 months to get Botox for her, 32 shots in her head to help with these migraines. And I'm doing everything I can. I'm remodeling our house. I have to make a dark room for her. I have to make sure every wall, even the interior walls, are insulated to keep noise and sunlight and stuff down. And this is really going to affect her quality of life. Like I said, she said today, because we didn't hear about this till the day, someone mailed out some letters letting us know what was going on. So she was going to come up and speak, but she just couldn't. The stress of trying to figure all this out today and figure out what was going on caused her to have a migraine. And so I just want to say that this is not only going to, decrease property values, it's going to affect quality of life mentally and physically for people that live up and around there. Like I say, there's a reason we drive an hour to get to a grocery store or to go shopping or do things, because we want to be where we have the peace and quiet and we don't have all those issues. And so that was just what my statement I wanted to say, just let everybody know. This is more about property values. It's about people's quality of life. All right, thanks.
LD Miller, how are you doing? Good. I'm sorry I caused that migraine. I'm the one that sent those letters.
No, you're all right. We needed to know.
That's right. First of all, we don't need this on the mountain. I've lived on that mountain for 72 years and lived across the road from this for 50 years. We have over 1,300 acres. We raise cattle. We have horses. We have 3 homes on that property, as well as my son-in-law and daughter have a home on Flaherty Road right across from Greg Johnson. We don't need this. This whole thing, and I spoke on this last Thursday, the whole thing has come from the Macklemore, the board of directors, the Hilton. They don't want to see shotguns up there because of someone, it just repeated in here, was talking about the golfers. They don't want to hear all this. Now, in Barnsley Gardens, they have the shooting, but it's away from there, but it's on their same complex area. For them to come 7 miles down the road and buy a house that was under a distressed sale in the first place, they were basically having an idea to do this. This doesn't need to be down here in our community. We don't need the extra traffic. We don't need all these people. We don't need the pollution of the shotguns, the noise. I mean, it is going to be beyond your control. It's going to devalue all the property down there. Nobody's going to want to buy a house down there where they're sitting beside this. I mean, it's bad enough to have a house sitting beside the interstate and counting the trucks go by. But this does not need to be out there. And yes, and I sent out a lot of letters, and I didn't know about this. You all did not send it to anybody. And I'm one of the largest landholders up there on the mountain and pay a whole lot of taxes to Walker County and get very little from them, okay? I'm not here to talk about no water in Walker County, nor no lines on Flaherty Road. But I'm here to say this is a bad, bad thing to have, and we don't want it. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Melissa Halsey, and I'd like to just have closure on the hotel motel tax issue. Before I begin, I would like to say to Commissioner Blakemore and Commissioner Stoltz, you all did not make comments at the September 12th meeting, so some of what I say does not apply to you, so please forgive me. It is not directed. Y'all remained quiet. Okay. So in the September 12th meeting, Commissioner Whitfield read what he read tonight about public decorum. And tonight, I would like to ask from the commission to show reciprocal courtesy to us, the public, and we ask for honesty. The reason given for passing the hotel motel tax at the September 12th meeting, I believe, was false. I believe it was a misrepresentation of truth, and I believe that the public trust was betrayed. We were told that the county had to honor the intent of its 2017 agreement. Yes, the hotel motel tax was discussed in 2017, but there is no evidence to suggest a rebate to Macklemore was discussed at that time or any time up until the present. All video and written documentation states this income would be used for benefit of Walker County as the state regulates. Also, an agreement like this could not have been made in 2017 because Commissioner Whitfield did not have the authority to do so, because this had to go before state legislature. So this agreement could not have been made until the state legislature approved it, which it was not at the time of the supposed intent. We were told that we would be sued if we did not honor this intent. There was never a credible lawsuit. We were told that a loci study by Georgia Tech and Georgia Power recommended this. The loci study was over 3 years old. Not only could Walker County not produce a copy of this loci study, the Walker County Development Authority couldn't produce a copy of this loci study. But what I did receive through open records advocated the opposite of what was voted on. The summary report that I received stated that 52% of the benefit from Macklemore came from the hotel motel tax. Nowhere in the summary loci study did it even discuss a rebate of the hotel motel tax. No open records could be obtained about things given to secondary counsel. Now, I know that any discussion between secondary counsel is attorney-client privilege, but documentation given to secondary counsel is public record. None of it could be produced. So, why was the real reason this hotel motel tax was passed? I believe it was for financing, and I have good source to believe that. To help Macklemore obtain financing. Macklemore could use the steady source of income to obtain additional financing for their conference center. Most likely this was the reason the term was 30 years with no stipulations, which is very out of the ordinary after speaking with many people at the statewide level. And why could this not have been said at the September 12th meeting? There was so much unnecessary drama, wasted time and effort, feeling insulted and being lied to, and for what? If Macklemore needed this funding to succeed, okay, let's have a discussion about it. Just say what it is. You know, in the future, we would all appreciate just being honest. And if you're going to spend millions of dollars of the county's money, a thoughtful financial analysis would also be appreciated. None was even given on this. And because it was going to be used for financing, were even any other options talked about? You know, we talked about we're not giving any county money to Macklemore. Well, this is giving them county money. Could a bond issuance have been a better deal for us? Was that even explored? I hope Macklemore does succeed. And time will only tell if this decision was a good one or a bad one, but I will say this. My intelligence was insulted, as well as the 67,000 residents of this Walker County, by telling us that you had to pass this because we were going to be sued. Bull honky donk. Thank you.
My name is Tim Bennett. I was here for the September 12th meeting and it talked about access to the courthouse with cameras, going in, taking pictures of records in the clerk's office. And I've spoken to Mr. Whitfield and Mr. Gottlieb, and from our discussions, we are moving in the right direction. And I just wanted to thank you gentlemen for your time and attention to this. And did you get the email I sent you, Mr. Gottlieb?
Yes.
Thanks, sir. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name's Amanda Heaps. I live on Clary Road. So does my family. My brother owns a residence there, and my father as well. We've been residents for, I don't know, about 50 years. One thing that I did hear everybody talking about is the concern and the health and well-being for the noise pollution. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is, have we considered the fact that all this lead, because we don't have water out there, right? Except for our wells. Am I right?
You're right.
So what about the lead that's going to be leaching into our water sources? We have no other source of water, right? We feed our animals with it. We also irrigate with it. We drink it. We wash our clothes with it. It's going to be in the soil for our agriculture. So what about the health and well-being of all of us that live up there? Not only us, water runs downhill. You are going to be contaminated down here too. Have we considered that for our health and well-being? That's a question. Have we considered that? Have we looked into the health and well-being of the contamination of our water and our soil and the long-term effect that it's going to have on us, our neighboring counties, our neighboring state, Alabama, will also be affected? Have we considered that? Have we?
I have not. You're the first one that's brought it up. I think it's a great concern.
I'm a teacher. We think outside the box. So I just want to know, what are you going to do when they come back? Are you going to look into this? And I voiced these concerns. Would y'all agree? Yeah. We have this concern. This not only affects us, but it affects everybody around us. We are farmlands. We're agriculture. But the water does run downhill. Now, where they're talking about putting this range, beneath it, on the edge of that mountain is rock. We do not have soil to buffer any of that. It will go directly into the water source a lot quicker. You need to educate yourself about this. That's an environmental problem, not just a noise pollution, but we also have a contaminant of lead. That's going to be the EPA, right? We need to contact the EPA, find out what we have to do when they come back. Is this even legitimate? Because all of us will be affected. All neighbors, all states, every resident. Us and y'all, as well as our neighbors. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie Halsey, and I appreciate you understanding. We started off telling truth, accountability, and transparency that you have a problem with doing. But I will say I did a lot of study and research. You have a little history with Macklemore, and on the campaign trail, I got to learn a lot about a lot of people, a lot of things going on. But you know, you don't see this transition area being considered by commission or Macklemore. You know, it's a fact. Who asked the people down in the Cove, how's the hotel look from down there? You know, there's a little different color it could have been painted to blend in. You have this shooting range that's potentially going in, and I believe it will come up again. And I see the future of how y'all seem to make decisions, and also how Dwayne Horton seems to negotiate. Is I could see this thing. I believe he considered the planning and zoning was just a step to come in there without a proper application. He came in there with drawing, just threw it together. He had confidence that was just a step to get to you. And again, as it's been said, don't seem like you might be the authority, or maybe you will. But, you know, who's considering the folks out there? You know, I did a lot of study and research on sport and clay ranges. There are states, counties, municipals that, I mean, probably have 20 to 30 page studies on noise around sporting clay, okay? Look at the decibels, look how it affects people. You know, but with Macklemore, it seems to be whether we give them over $100 million over 30 years, you know, we could do a lot with that, right? Without consideration of the people that they're encroaching on. Why is that? Do y'all care? Do you care about the citizens? Planning and zoning seems to. Okay, who asked the folks in the Cove anything about the looks? Heard from one gentleman down there. He said, well, I don't have much of a problem with it because I got some work on my skid steer up there. I said, well, that's good, but you know, who considers the other side? I think you're supposed to represent us, not a commercial entity like a liquor store, Mr. Askew. That who's considering, you don't want me to talk about the private meeting back here, but who's considering the folks when something comes in? We don't see an accurate plat on subdivisions, the facials of subdivision, plan and zoning, and how dare it even get to plan and zoning when it didn't even pass an application? Would you hire somebody without a proper application? It's not filled out all the way. I mean, so it looks to me there's such a relationship that they can do pretty much what they want. And I can foresee if this gets approved and you take authority over this, that yeah, JL, all these people in here will be forced to sell
They can't, you've heard them all. The plan may work. There's probably a plan back there that they'll be forced to sell, and guess what? There's only one person that will buy it. And who is that? Dwayne Horton. So whatever ties y'all have together with this political, statewide, whatever, you're not considered a single soul in this county, and you work for us. We have a decorum, we have expectations, but you're not considering an ounce of it. Anything you say and do. And I wonder why. Why do people go around thinking, money on the table again? I wouldn't want people to think of me like that. Decisions y'all make you look guilty, makes you look suspicious, makes you look like you're benefiting out of it. So what do you think? Perception was a word that was talked about in one meeting. So perception may as well be true if that's the perception of everybody. So do you want to do something about it, have respect of the citizens, or continue to look like something I hope you're not? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
My name is Kyla Compton. My husband came up and told you earlier, we own the adjoining land right next door. I do have some concerns, and I guess it could be a question too. This is my 50-foot easement that is used daily, either by my children, by the forestry, or by American Tower. So why would you not start your barriers or buffers right there? Because the whole reason for that is for safety. It should start there. It shouldn't start on my property line. As this map is proposed, Mr. Horton did know that this map was out there because I showed him on Wednesday prior to the planning and zoning. So him getting up last Thursday and saying he didn't know, he lied because I showed him. He saw it. He knew exactly what we were looking at. And I said, have you even drove and seen the property lines? No, I did a few years ago. If you own this property or you're leasing this property and you're proposing it, you need to know what you're proposing. He also, the lady got up and spoke last week also stating they were going to do ATV rides. That's another question of mine. If he gets approved for this, does that also open this, or does he have to go back to planning and zoning? Do you know? Does anybody want?
Say that again.
Okay, she got up and asked and said their vision, which we just got a copy of that this week because he didn't provide it prior to. But part of her vision was to ride four-wheelers and do ATV and off-road, which of course is gonna have to be right here. So if he gets this approved, does this automatically get approved as well? For him to make an addition, or does this have to go to planning and zoning?
It would have to go to planning and zoning. It wouldn't be, it's not lumped together, it's not the same, it's two separate things, isn't it, what you're telling me?
This is all this one tract. All he owns is a house and 7 acres. The only reason I know that, I owned it. It was mine. I sold it to another individual, they were losing it, and he bought it out of distress. So the only reason we know this land very well. So he only owns that. This whole tract is one piece. So my question is, if he gets it approved for this, does it approve for this?
My immediate answer would be no. You're talking about this
Correct.
That range. So my opinion is they're not linked together, and it would be.
But even on they're on the same proposal.
I've heard nothing about it. I mean, that's the first I've heard about it.
We have documentation. I'm not sure where it came from.
About the four-wheeler.
It's in the planning commission record.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's on that paper. I read it the other night and I read it several times. It's all in that proposal. So that's my question. If we're going to consider this, all his ideas for this need to be included with this.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? And this buffer needs to be moved to a right-of-way because the whole reason we're doing a buffer is for safety. So if you're not going to do that, you're not ensuring the safety of my children, the forestry workers, and American Tower, who all have legal deeds rights to this right-of-way. That's my main concern. But my other question that I would love to be answered, since last week was denied, y'all let him withdraw this week, what's the next step? Does he go back to planning and zoning? And are we going to be the only ones that get a letter? Or should everybody else here that is adjoining 13 people get their letter too? We're the only ones. And I assume just because everybody thought, we're young, it'll be okay. No, we're not stupid. We've worked all of our lives to have what we have. My husband and I are very fortunate. We both get up every single day and go to work. to have what we have. We've not had family. Nobody gave us money to help us do what we do. So yes, we take a lot of pride in what we have, and rightfully so. So somebody is not going to come over there and try to offer me a job because I work every day. I don't need his money. I can take care of myself, but I need to ensure that my children and grandchildren, everybody else is going to be able to also live where we do. That's the whole reason we've worked our tails off. But I want to know, can he come back? Is there a time limit? What would be the next step for Mr. Horton? Can he come back next week and fill out another?
We need to get our planning director to come up and speak.
Let him speak on that, because I don't know that.
Let's do that.
Yeah, well, I told her she wanted to reach out to me tomorrow.
I understand. That is my main question. And I want, not to be mean, but I want a straightforward answer. I want to know. I found out about this months ago from a real estate guy who had no idea who I was. And he gave me Mr. Horton's whole plan for that mountain. And then when I told him who I was, he wanted off the phone. So yes, I'm very upset. This is very disturbing, and I should not have been the only one, my husband and I, who got the letter.
Do we get the
Roy Hambrick. I don't live up on the mountain, but if anybody knows where, I feel compelled to say this, anybody knows where the corner of Shinbone Ridge and 193 is, the old Wooden Indian restaurant, well, you're staring at the kid who grew up in a war zone. So if everybody remembers, the Gilbert property had the old shooting range up to the top of the hill. I've been up there blowing up tannerites, shooting fully automatic weapons. I'm a staunch Second Amendment supporter, but I was that kid that lived in the war zone where you're outside playing volleyball, you're outside with your friends while people are just shooting like crazy up there. And on the other side of that was Patton Rock, which was good friends of mine that were blowing up, you know, the sides of the mountain to create rock. So I don't jump at a lot of loud noises because I've grown up with it, right? So that's probably what made me a little crazy. But I will say, I walk in here, I was invited to come, didn't know a whole lot about this. The Planning Commission, they said no, but I can tell you that I don't think something like this going around a lot of people's property where they're raising children is a very good idea. I can tell you that it is rather disturbing. I can show you places on my house where we've had ricocheted bullets when I was a kid. So I felt compelled because of the community, this large outreach. But I'm the kid that grew up in that war zone, and I just don't see how this could be a benefit to this county. I see how it can be a benefit to Macklemore, right? But the thing is I love shooting probably more than most people do, and we have a lot of private property around here that we sometimes get to go to. But years ago, before COVID, we actually had a small, group that was going to try to propose like a county shooting range somewhere. We never got around to it. COVID happened and all this, and now here we are with this. And I'm just got to tell y'all, I don't think it's cool to have something like this where a whole bunch of houses are, people have put their livelihoods at stake, to have sort of a private club of, yahoos out there blasting away, even though I'm one of the yahoos, right? But I'm just saying, I grew up in that atmosphere, and trust me, I don't think it's great for kids. I mean, I was outside one day when a bullet ricocheted, off the house. And like I said, I kind of like what the lady before me said, because this is no shade to anybody here, but the very first commission meeting I ever came to, I had no idea what I was doing. It was a very emotional night because this room was packed with churchgoers and pastors because we were all talking about an easement, about a liquor license, and that was several years ago. And I watched it stop right there. I watched the outpour of the community, and they said, we're not going to do this, right? 5 years later, the only indoor shooting range we had here is a liquor store that I have to pass by every day, which makes me angry because I loved that little place, and now it's one of a dozen liquor stores in the county. So you see what I'm saying? I think that the people have a point here. I don't think this may be the best idea up at Macklemore. Maybe we could look in the future as a county to provide a shooting range for the people. Because I actually got to visit Macklemore last week, and it was a beautiful place, and it's probably the last time I'll ever set foot in there. It wasn't made for people like me, and I don't think that this shooting range is going to be made for people like me. So, thank you.
application fee is $50,000.
Ed Yates. I'll start off with just a quickie with the spay and neuter and things. I used to have to trap cats for company business to get them to keep them from damaging people's livelihoods with urinating and defecating on the material. You know, we've got a lot. We need to do something. I don't know what. We need to think about euthanizing them. That's a quick comment. I'll start off with saying, look, I'm a lifelong resident. Y'all probably figured out I've spoken enough. I've shot the majority of my life. I used to be a gun nut. I've been a hunter all my life. I'm a proponent of shooting sports. I did competitive shooting when I was in high school, so I'm not anti-gun. I love firearms. It's a joy to shoot them. I'll throw something at you. There's going to be, from what I've read about sporting clays, I shot umpteen years ago, its set is either 50 to 100 targets, and about 2 rounds for every target you shoot. So we're talking about 100 to 200 shots, or if you got 4 individuals, you know, you're talking about that. If it's a 6-man, and for a 4-man team, which is about normal, it's 400 to 800 rounds. That's shots fired. If it's a 6-man team, which is not unusual, it's 600 to 1,200 rounds per time you're doing it. It doesn't take but 30 or 40 minutes to run one. So if you have a tournament, it might be 8,000 or 10,000 rounds in a tournament day. You know, which is crazy. In my perspective, that's a lot of ammunition, a lot of noise. I will show you something. Here's a shotgun shell. That's not much shot. That's an ounce of shot. Every time they pull a trigger, that's going down range. We're talking about in one set. You know, you do it half a day, just 4 people shooting, you're talking 25 pounds of lead or 50 pounds of lead. Now, if you got a 6-man group shooting, it's 375 pounds of bloody lead. It's toxic, we know that. If it's, and maybe as much as 75 pounds. If you put that on an annual basis, we're going to say you're only shooting, there's a 312 days, 6 days a year. If we're going to back it down to 150 days, you're going to shoot one set, one 4-man set. You're talking for a year's time at 150 days shooting and only one set. We're not talking about multiple sets. You're talking 3,750 pounds of lead. That's 1.875 tons of lead a year. Now, if it's 800 shots, it's 7,500 pounds. 3 3/4 tons of lead. If it's a 6-man team, it's 5,600, which is 2 7/8 tons of lead. If you're shooting 100 clays, it's 11,250. 5.625, which is 5 5/8 tons a year. We're talking, that's toxic. That's just not much. It's just an ounce a shot. That's not anywhere near 6,000 or 7,000 rounds. Okay, now that's the one thing.
One more minute.
All right, well, good, because I'm not going to take much. But the next thing is, you're going to spray the wildlife, the toxicity. I'm a shooter. I've been shooting for 65 years. I figured I have shot well over 300,000 rounds of ammunition. Mildly put, I've shot 1,700 pounds in 65 years. That's a little bit short of the 11 tons. Now, you got noise shotguns 150 to 160 decibels. It's a human screams 80 to 120. We got a vacuum cleaner 70 to 80. You can hear a shotgun 2 miles away. We got people close. You're over the McLemore's Cove where we own property there. You can't even run the campground. because there's no bathroom, there's no facilities. We can lease it out. We're not going to be able to do that. You know, I've got a friend.
Time is expired.
Well, listen, well, y'all want to hear that 8,000 times a day?
Robbie Tate. First of all, let me thank y'all. Foster Mill Drive got paved. It looks great. They did an excellent job. They did it in a timely manner. I couldn't be more pleased with the resurfacing. I didn't intend to speak about the shooting clays, but I think it was a very strategic move on the part of Macklemore to withdraw their request, because if this had been on the agenda and been denied, I'm certain that there would be time constraints that would be imposed before they could be reconsidered. And I think that was a very strategic move. I think that's the reason it was withdrawn and not put back up, because now at any time they can come forward and put this back on the agenda. That's why it was withdrawn and not tabled or not moved on, okay? That may answer some of your questions about why it was withdrawn. I'm pretty sure I'm correct. I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that's probably in the ordinances somewhere. But I'm here to speak about an obligation that our county put in their budget in 2024 and 2025 for the Walker County DFACs, for the foster care program. And since April of this year, there have been, I think, 5 requests. I know that they've been directed to the commissioner, but at least 2 of those requests have been sent out to the full board of commissioners requesting reimbursement for their money that DFACS has spent on the foster care program, and it goes back to 2022. Currently, I believe that Walker County owes the Department of Family and Children's Services foster kids, okay? We talked about doing things for the kids, and we talked about living up to our expectations and our obligations. We owe the Department of Family and Children's Services $59,984.05 going back to October of 2022. There have been multiple requests made, and I know that the person in the accounting department who handled this left and there's someone else, but those requests have been made and they're not getting any responses. And, you know, we put this in the budget in 2024. $8,000 for intergovernmental DFACS operating expenses, $62,000 for intergovernmental foster care expense. There's 150 children in foster care in Walker County right now, okay? We owe these people almost $60,000 and we put it in the budget. Why are we not paying them? Why are we not responding to them? In addition to that, their lease on the building has expired and we've not renewed it, okay? When the building was built, I think it was 20-year lease, may have been 25, but that's expired and we need to renew the lease, and that's what I'm calling on you to do tonight, to pay these bills, okay? We made an agreement and we owe these people the money, and it was set aside and designated in the county's funds to be paid, and we're 2 years behind on reimbursements. So I implore you to make these payments that we said we would make.
Anybody else to speak?
Can I clarify that?
Yeah.
So in our ordinance 22109, section B is in Bravo, if an applicant can withdraw at any time before a vote's made, but he has to wait a period of 6 months before he can apply for the same. So maybe that answers your questions.
What if it was denied? What if the planning commission denied it?
12 months.
Which they did.
Planning commission couldn't vote because he withdrew the application before he voted.
So he's got Mr. Pursley has the floor.
So Mr. Horton requested it to be withdrawn before the vote was taken, so that's why it was allowed to be withdrawn.
That is incorrect.
Only speak one time.
The commission.
No, ma'am, you're out of order.
Well,
You're out of order.
I request the permission
You
to
are
speak.
out of order. Mr. Pursley has the floor.
Okay.
So, and to clarify her question about the other items that they want to add there, or whatever they said, they did say their future use or land use included, I think it was an archery range, a fly fishing facility, or like classes, wasn't that right, classes? And then an off-road park. So what they were currently asking for was that, whatever other items they wanted in the future, they would have to come back. And anybody would, you know, not just this project, but this was what they were asking for at the time. So whatever was in the future, they'd have to come back and get permission and permitting and whatnot for. But so hopefully that answers your question. So 6-month period before they could reapply.
Okay, is there anyone that wants to speak in our public comment that's not already spoke? Y'all have already spoke, your time's expired. Yes, sir, we've got to keep moving.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Randy Pittman. I represent the Walker County Historic Preservation Commission. I want to inform the public, we partner with the American Legion Auxiliary Chickamauga Unit 217 and the Reefs across Chattanooga. We're going to try to put reefs on all the veterans' graves in the Tennessee-Georgia Memorial Park this December. They do it every year at the National Cemetery, and we was involved last year, and we were asked to start a chapter here in Walker County. So this is where we're at. All the information is on the county's Facebook page. $10 a wreath. If you purchase them from the Reefs across America, you're paying $17. You're paying us $10. Nobody puts any money in their pocket. So appreciate the community support and help. Come out December 12th and help us lay reefs. Thank you.
We've been here 2 hours. We're going to take a 10-minute recess.
Withdrew Mr. Horton had withdrew. Right here is the official document from Walker County Planning Office that says denied the ordinance requiring a plan showing 500-foot buffer, and it was not provided. That's the official document right there, not Mr. Pursley's word. Did y'all like that?
Thank you, sir.
Put it on record.
Last page of your agenda.
Okay, anyone else like to speak? No, not at this time. We'll talk to you afterwards, but we got to keep moving forward. It's going to be a long night. All right, anyone else? Hands and spoke. Okay, we're going to move forward on our agenda. Our public comment section is now closed. Okay, let me get caught up here where my ordinances are. Okay, let's see, this one's dealing with the solar, correct?
Correct, that's the next thing.
Okay, so that was part of our land use ordinance, right? So we need to table this as well?
Yes. Well, this is a moratorium to remove, the ordinance to remove the moratorium.
Because they want the work session on the land use ordinances first before we hear them, so. Since the planning commission asked for that, that's what.
Okay, so I'll read this and then y'all can make your motions. Okay. Resolution R 3424, resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Walker County for the purpose of repealing a temporary emergency moratorium on the acceptance of applications for zoning approval, building permits, land disturbance permits, and any other approval or permits or processing of or for issuance of decision on any such application regarding new solar energy systems or the expansion of existing operations that produce solar power, whereas the Board of Commissioners, the Board passed Resolution R 18-24 on May the 9th, 2024, enacting a temporary emergency moratorium on the acceptance of applications for permitting solar energy systems. Whereas the board needs time to prepare appropriate amendments to the county zoning ordinance and prepare any other necessary ordinance regarding solar energy systems, to hold public hearings required by law, and to adopt such amendments and other ordinance. And whereas with the adoption of ordinance O-0124, the need for a temporary emergency moratorium of this acceptance of this application pertaining or permitting solar energy systems no longer exists. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Walker County does hereby repeal Resolution R 1824. So what we were discussing is that ordinance O-124 had been tabled because the Planning Commission is going to have a work session and solar is included in that. So it would be in proper order for us tonight for a motion from this board to table this to give the Planning Commission time to do their evaluation.
Motion to table.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Blakemore to table this resolution. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Stoltz. Any further discussion of this board?
I have a question. So on the original moratorium, we had a time limit, correct?
Yes.
And when did that time limit expire? Can we table this if we go past that time limit legally?
Yeah, I think that we can. It was just in May, and I don't think tabling it for a short period of time.
If we go, okay, that's what I wanted to clear up, okay.
Okay. So the moratorium would still stand. This is just tabling this to give the Planning Commission time to do their work.
Understood.
Any other, good question. Any other questions? All right, so we have a motion and a second to table this resolution. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this resolution will be tabled to the future meeting. Okay, we have Resolution R 35-24, resolution of the Walker County Board of Commissioners to accept the matching conditions of the Georgia Department of Community Affairs Historic Resources Survey Grant. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Walker County, the county is the governing authority of Walker County, Georgia. And whereas on January the 25th, 2024, the county approved Resolution R 004-24, authorizing the Walker County Historic Preservation Commission to apply for a Historic Resource Survey Grant through the Georgia Department of Community Affairs Historic Preservation Division to conduct new historical resource survey. Whereas the county agreed to provide the grant required match through in-kind services, and whereas Walker County has been awarded $33,333.33 grant for the project from the Georgia Department of Community Affairs Historic Preservation Division, whereas the match condition of the grant will require local funds in addition to the in-kind services. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Walker County, Georgia, do hereby authorize up to $13,333.33 in matching funds through a combination of in-kind and cash contributions required for this grant. So resolved and adopted the 24th of October, 2024. And I'm going to ask Mr. John Culpepper, the chairman of the Historic Preservation Commission, to come and speak to this resolution.
Thank you, sir. Basically, I'm just going to give a quick overview of how we got to this point. While the Walker County Historic Preservation Commission was inactive for several years, it lost its status as a Georgia certified local government. To apply for, be eligible for historic preservation grants, that's a different from the survey. We have to regain that certification. We attempted to do that, and we were notified that our first step was this updated historic resource survey for Walker County. The last one was done in 2009. They like for it to be done at least every 15 years. This is a little bit different than what they did in 2009. Back then, if your house was 50 years plus, you could be considered historic. They changed that to 40 years plus. So we target the Murchie Valley area. We through the assessor's office, there's 997 houses there that meet that 40 years plus. Plus it covers cemeteries different old store buildings and stuff like that. So, we'll be very frugal with the county's money. We still can accumulate in-kind services, like Attorney Gottlieb's been working on the request for proposal. We've got to have a Georgia certified historic consultant to conduct the survey, so he can put his time down spent. I'm sure the consultant will be wanting to talk to the commission, maybe show them around, do so and so. So we'll try to hold that cost down. The 2009 survey, University of Georgia did all the field work. I contacted that lady in charge of that program. They don't have the resources to help us out with that now. So I appreciate you considering the 13,300 so we can move on, and we've got certain deadlines we got to meet, and we need to get moving. We're sort of at a standstill right now. But we'll be off that after tonight to pass it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Culpepper?
No, sir.
I just want to say you guys have done a wonderful job.
Thank you, sir.
From a mothballed commission to moving it as forward as you have. You guys have done a great job. Your entire team has.
Well, I appreciate that. We're serious about preserving our historic resources. We're taking on other avenues like the Wreaths Across America project for Walker County. We're still trying to pull the resources together to preserve the old school building down in McLemore Cove. We ran into some issues because it's in a historic district. And then our problem, but we're slowly working through that. We're even raffling off a TV to raise funds for the consultant to do this work. So we're moving forward. So I appreciate that.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. John? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve Resolution R35-24 to provide these funds?
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Hart. We have a second.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Askew. Any further discussion of the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes and funds are
I'll be
released.
79 years old Monday. It's past my bedtime, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna head towards Chickamauga.
Thank you, sir.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, the next resolution is R36-24, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Walker County to amend the regular meeting calendar for 2024. Whereas the resolution R002-24, the Board of Commissioners of Walker County established the board would conduct regular meetings at 6:30 p.m. on the second and fourth Thursday of each month of 2024. Whereas amended to the regular meeting calendar for 2024, it's necessary due to meetings scheduled on November the 28th, December the 12th, and December 26th that conflicts with training and county holidays. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Walker County, Georgia, that the regular meetings scheduled on the following dates in 2024 are canceled: November 28th, December 12th, December 26th of 24. If further resolved that the meeting schedule in 2024 for November 14th will commence as scheduled. Be further resolved that the board will hold a regular meeting on December the 19th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at the Courthouse Annex 3, which is this building at 201 North Main in Lafayette, as a replacement for the two canceled December meetings. So resolved and adopt the 24th day of October 24th. Basically what that's saying is we'll have one meeting in November, which will be November the 14th. We'll have one meeting in December that would be on December the 19th. Those meetings will be held here at the same time. We just will have two meetings for the next 2 months. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hart. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Stoltz. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this resolution passes. Resolution R34-24, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Walker County to establish a holiday calendar for the county offices in 2025, whereas Walker County is duly created and validly existing political subdivision of the state of Georgia under the Constitution and the laws of the state of Georgia, and whereas it has been determined that the county has anticipated and planned for the closure of certain business and administrative offices of the government in order to observe a number of general accepted holidays that occurred throughout the year, said holidays to be accounted for in the respective fiscal year budget, which has been and will be accounted for in both the current fiscal year existing and in the future planned budgets, both of which will span the proposed calendar year. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Walker County, Georgia does hereby create and establish the following calendar of county holidays for 2025. January 1, New Year's Day. January the 20th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. April 18th, Good Friday. May the 26th, Memorial Day. July 4th, Independence Day. September 1st, Labor Day. November the 11th, Veterans Day. November 27th, Thanksgiving. November 28th, the day after Thanksgiving. December 24th, Christmas Eve. December 25th, Christmas Day. Be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners reserves the right to modify or change holiday schedule, to substitute other holidays for scheduled ones, to award additional holidays, or to reduce the number of holidays depending on the need of the county. So resolved and adopted the 24th day of October 24. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Blakemore. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Hart. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. And this is the same holiday schedule we've had, I think, now for the last 7 years consecutive. Okay, Resolution R 3824, resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Walker County to declare property as surplus and removed from the county inventory. Whereas OCGA 369-2 provides that the county governing authority shall have the control of all property belonging to the county and may by order into its minutes direct the disposal of any real property which may lawfully be disposed of and may and executed good and sufficient title thereof on behalf of the county. And whereas Walker County Fire Rescue has requested that one 1991 Ingersoll Rand breathing air compressor, serial number 307697872, and one 1991 Ingersoll Rand cylinder field station, serial number P86698, be deemed surplus, and further request that the property be removed from the county inventory. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Walker County, Georgia, that the 1991 Ingersoll Rand breathing air compressor, serial number 307697872, and one 1991 Ingersoll Rand cylinder fill station, serial number P86698, is hereby declared unserviceable surplus, removed from the county inventory, and donated to the City of Lookout Mountain Fire Department. So resolved and adopted the 24th day of 2024. This does come as a recommendation from our fire chief, Chief Hodge. He was unable to be here tonight due to a family commitment. But this is his recommendation, and he has been in communication with the City of Lookout Mountain. They were very excited about being able to receive this. I think I remember correctly, they don't have one, or it's one that's very limited. As our department has grown and we've got a lot more need, we needed a newer, more dependable system. So this keeps it in the county, but gives it to one of our cities so they can continue to get the rest of the life out of it. So we have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Commissioner Askew. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hart. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. Next item we have is Resolution R 3924, a resolution of the Walker County Board of Commissioners to rescind approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Rossville for recreational services. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Walker County, the board is the governing authority of Walker County, Georgia, and whereas on July 25th, 2024, the board approved an intergovernmental agreement, IGA, with the City of Rossville for the use of the Rossville Community Center for recreational services, and whereas the City of Rossville has not executed the IGA, and therefore the board now deems that it is in the best interest of the citizens of Walker County that the county assume management of the scheduling of events and activities at the Rossville Community Center. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Walker County, Georgia does hereby rescind its approval of the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Rossville for recreational services dated July 25th, 2024, as well as the memorandum of understanding with the City of Rossville that contemplated the development of the city-county recreational plan dated December 1, 2008. Be it further resolved that the county shall assume responsibilities for daily operations of the Rossville Community Center property effective November 1st, 2024, and that the board assigns the Rossville Community Center property to be under the management of our Civic Center Department. Be it further resolved that the board remains open to collaborating with the City of Rossville on recreational sports in the future and agrees to honor any existing reservations for the use of the Rossville Community Center property. So resolved and adopted the 24th day of October 2024. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Blakemore. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Askew. Any further discussion of the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. Resolution R 40-24, resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Walker County to declare property from the Walker County Sheriff's Office as unserviceable surplus and removed from the county inventory. Whereas OCGA 36-9-2 provides that the county governing authority shall have the control of all property belonging to the county and may, by order, enter on its minutes, direct the disposal of the real property which may lawfully be disposed of, and made it execute in good sufficient title thereof on behalf of the county. And whereas the Sheriff's Office has requested that the property listed on Exhibit A be deemed unserviceable surplus, and further requests that the property be removed from the county inventory, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Walker County, Georgia, that the property listed in Exhibit A, attached hereto, made part hereof, be hereby declared unserviceable surplus and removed from the county. So resolved and adopted the 24th day of October of 24. There is a memorandum from the Sheriff's Office listing out the inventory of the items and the quantities. There's 12 different line items, and from filing cabinets, lockers, desks, shelving, those type of things. So we have a motion to approve this request from our sheriff.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Blakemore. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Hart. Any further discussion of this board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is approved. Resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Walker County to appoint members of the Walker County Board of Assessors. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Walker County Board is the governing authority of Walker County, Georgia. And whereas OCGA 48-5-295 provides that the member of the County Board of Assessors shall be appointed by the county governing authority. And whereas one of the duties delegated to the chairman of the board is to appoint members to all committees of the board with the approval of the board. And whereas vacancies exist on the Walker County Board of Assessors due to the expiration of the term, and whereas the term of Steve Ledbetter of Walker County member set to expire on December 31st, 2028, whereas Chairman Whitfield submits the following appointment to serve as the representative of Walker County of the Board of Assessors to fill Steve Ledbetter's unexpired term, Jamie Bennett for the term ending on December 31st, 2024. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Walker County that Georgia that the appointment of Jamie Bennett be approved. So resolved and adopted the 24th day of October. Mr. Steve Ledbetter did a great service and has served on this board and done a great job, but he has moved out of state. And so he is no longer eligible, so therefore he submitted his resignation to the Board of Assessors chairman. And so the Board of Assessors has spoken with myself and Mr. Hart both, and asking us to fill that vacant seat for the unexpired term of December 31st, 2028. Commissioner Hart, you got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so So they did mention it to me, and the Board of Assessors is a hard board to find somebody to sit on because you have to have a lot of extra time to be able to do that. Jamie has the time to dedicate to that. He got to go to some training for that. He has met with him, I think, 2 times, and they did have a good working relationship with him already. I have talked with the inbound chairman about this. She's good with that as well. So it gives the Jamie actually lives in the West Emergency area, so it gives some representation out in that area where Steve lived in the Lafayette area. So it's the same district. So I think he'll be a very good fit for that. Jamie's a young guy and looking forward to serving there.
So since this is an appointment, I do make the motion that we approve this appointment of Jamie Bennett to fill the unexpired term of Steve Ledbetter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Hart. Any further discussion of the board?
Yes, sir.
Right. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Mr. Jamie Bennett's been appointed. Okay. This next item that we have is a license access agreement with the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. I'm not going to read all this verbiage. Y'all would get tired of hearing this one for sure. But basically, in summary, what this is they have identified some abandoned 55-gallon drums on a neighboring property to some county property on Marble Top Road. And so this is giving them access to cross county property to get into the property to clean this up. So EPD is taking responsibility for the cleanup cost and all the services involved. They just need this formal agreement with this board to allow them an access agreement for 3 years. So our attorney has worked with them on this, and along with our Public Works Director, everything seems to be in good order. We just need to authorize this access agreement, and in 3 years it will expire, or they hope to be done long before then. Any questions of the board? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the access agreement with the Department of Natural Resources?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hart. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stoltz. Any further discussion of the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay.
Next step. You need one?
It's missing out of mine. Okay. Yeah, for some reason, this one's either out of order or missing in my file here. What this is, this next one is an intergovernmental agreement with the Chickamauga school system. If they ever had a mass incident where they needed to evacuate Chickamauga school system in any form or fashion, this is an agreement where we're authorizing them to use our Civic Center campus as a designated location, so they can put this in their emergency response plan. And that way, too, they can share that information with their parents. And so if they ever had to do a mass evacuation, this would be their central point of location. So since this is a large campus and we have a new playground and our ag center and a lot of bathrooms. Walking trail, this is a great place for parents to come and pick up their children if there was an evacuation. It's on Highway 27, it's easy access, easy to find. And so this agreement would be with the Chickamauga school system, Walker County government, and would be for a period of 5 years, but either party upon a 60-day written notice can terminate or alter this agreement with 60-day notice. So basically it really comes down to it's a 60-day agreement because it can change in 60 days. Any questions of the board?
No, sir.
Hearing none, I need a motion to approve this agreement.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Askew. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Blakemore. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this agreement is approved. Okay, the next item that we have is a memorandum, is our discrimination policy, our Title VI. This has to be updated every 3 years. This is driven by our grant with the state and the federal government for our transit. There was some changes this year in the format they wanted us to use. So they sent us this template. We didn't think of all of these things to say. They actually sent a template. It's more of a fill in the blank with your information. So our transit director worked on this, and we both collaborated and worked on some of the translation to some of this is in Spanish to make sure we had that right. And so this is to take an existing Title VI policy and take the latest form, the latest provisions by the federal government to allow us to have a valid current policy and to submit this then to GDOT for their acceptance to show us that we have handled this internal policy and we're in compliance with the 3-year review and update of the Title VI to make sure we have a discrimination policy as well as a process for someone that files a complaint. And that's all documented to this and will be kept on our website and also our transit office. Is there any questions, concerns, comments about the new revised Title VI policy?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Blakemore. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Stoltz. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Policy is approved. Okay, we have a purchase order 2025-123. This is approval for R&R Erectors, Inc. for $67,123 from the 2020 landfill splosh allocations for repairs to the landfill, transfer columns, installation of fans, and installations of a new concrete wall. Is Mr. Gilly still with us? You got anything you want to add to this?
Just talking.
No, come on, come into the microphone. As he comes up, Mr. Payne Gilly is our director over our landfill and transfer station, and he's the one that has worked to obtain these quotes and has worked on this scope of work.
Good evening, everyone.
Brief, and I emphasize brief summary.
Well, we've got 6 columns on the western wall of the transfer station. Their I-beams, the webbing in them has rusted through. They've separated from the concrete slab. We've got proposals for a company to come in and cut out the sections that are damaged. They've also been hit by equipment, things like that. So they're going to cut these sections out. They're going to replace those sections, and then they're going to reattach them to the concrete slab, and then construct a wall in front of the columns to give us some protection. That's the first part of the proposed. Can I talk about both of them?
Yeah, go ahead, because the next one's coming.
And then the second one is to replace some paneling on the outside of the building that's been damaged by wind, equipment. The building was built in 1998, so it's had its amount of wear and tear. And that's essentially what this is about. It's just to make some good repairs that'll take us into the next 10, 15 years, and to help us preserve what we have. And I was just talking with John with building inspections, and he's actually going to have his crew come out, and because this was all engineered by a licensed structural engineer, he's going to have an inspection service come out and take a look, or they will come out and inspect the work to make sure this is done in accordance with the engineer's design, which is good because we can save money. I don't have to hire an engineering firm to do that. Perfect.
Very good. So Mr. Gilly has gotten some quotes, and he feels like this is the best vendor that can do the work, and they can do it this year, right?
Yes, they can do it by December. We'd like to get it done now because we're slowing down our volumes off. This is a good time of the year to do it. We've kind of waited for this time of year, this season. And we're going to have to close down for about a week to 10 days. They're going to come out Monday. We'll talk. It's possible we can do this while we're open, but it's going to be very difficult to try to coordinate everything while they're working on these columns as part of our tunnel. in our trash disposal area.
So this was funds that's allocated for the landfill purposes, and improvements to our facilities was part of our allocation for the landfill.
Yes, in Splosh, this was specifically for the transfer station.
Yes. So we have a purchase order with R&R Rectors, purchase order 2025-123, in the amount of $67,123. Do we have a motion to approve this purchase order?
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Stoltz. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Askew. Any further questions or concerns of the board?
Yes. So I looked at that to do a couple of times, so they're gonna rebuild the columns
Yes.
and place the wall in front of the columns, correct?
Yes.
Is that wall 8 inches thick or 12 inches thick? I looked at this yesterday and I couldn't find that anywhere.
Actually, it's smaller than that. It's 4 to 6 inches thick.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that will withstand the,
You know, I'm gonna talk to him about that on Monday. I would like to have it a little bit thicker, you know, just in case. And they shouldn't adjust this too much, if any. We can actually buy the concrete. Once they get the forms up, we can actually buy the concrete ourselves. And that would help us if we needed to expand it a little bit.
okay. I would talk to him, because a 4-inch thick wall right there, if it gets one little bump. Yeah.
No, we have 18 feet there to work in, so it's not like we're gonna be riding down this wall with the equipment.
No, but they hit the columns, they'll hit the wall. I mean, it's right there. I mean, I'm not being smart, but I mean, you
No, I
said,
understand, but,
we
you know,
don't need it to,
But that was, I get what you're saying, and it's a valid point, but also that was 10, 15, that was a long time ago. Different crew, different
Okay.
attitude, different type of workers that
okay,
we have now.
just look at that as you move forward and keep me posted.
Sure will.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
So we had a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the first purchase order is approved. Okay, and then the second purchase order, 2025-124, approval for R&R Rectors for $15,562.58 from the 2020 landfill splosh allocations for the installations of new wall sheeting for the transfer station. So Mr. Payne spoke on this as well. And you can see the additional quotes. We also have the structural drawings that was for that first project is also here attached. So we have a motion to approve purchase order 124.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Blakemore. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Stoltz. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Gilly.
Thank you, man.
Okay, we're going to ask Mr. John Pursley if he'll come back up. We have the Teresa Huddleston request for a variance for property located at 131 Stone Creek Road, Rising Pond, Georgia, 30738, tax map and parcel number 0-227-06. Mr. Pursley, can you speak to this and also the recommendation of the Planning Commission?
Yeah, she withdrew her request prior to the vote that night.
Okay, so that one has been withdrawn, so we will move forward to the next one. We have Travis's request for a variance for property located at 14491 Highway 151, Trine, Georgia, 30753, tax map and parcel number 0-486-010. Please speak to that one.
So that one was denied and based on it creating another lot that's not in compliance with A1. There's 3.5 acres roughly, and they're wanting to cut an acre off of it. And so that was the reason for the denial.
Okay, so the Planning Commission's recommendation to this board is to deny. Anyone like to speak?
So, if I remember correctly, there was all A1 property that bordered that property, isn't that correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so carving out 1 acre would be,
Yeah, the parcel currently does not meet the current ag requirements for acreage. You have to be 5 acres. He's at 3.5 acres. And so he's wanting to cut an acre off of that to leave him 2.5 and then sell 1 acre. but that was the reason for the denial, because it's creating another lot in the agricultural zone that's not in the requirements for ag.
Gotcha, okay. Any other questions for Mr. Purcell?
No, sir.
Do we have a motion from this board?
I would make a motion to support the planning commission's recommendation on that being is in an ag area.
Okay, so the motion is to deny the request from Commissioner Hart. Do we have a
Correct.
second to support the denying the request?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Askew. Any further discussion of the board?
No, sir.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this request has been denied by the board. Next one we have is from the Harris family, request a rezone from A1 agricultural to R2 residential for property located at 657 Cannon Road, Lafayette, Georgia. 30728, tax map and parcel number 0-342-001B. Mr. Percy.
Yeah, so the motion was to approve this, and the reasoning for that, it does border R2 zoning currently, and that's the zoning that they're wanting to add to that partial.
Okay, so the recommendation of the planning commission is to approve this as submitted. Any other questions for Mr. Purcell? Hearing none, do we have a motion from this board for an action?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve as submitted.
As submitted, yes, sir.
Okay,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you. So a motion to approve as submitted by Commissioner Hart. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stoltz. Any further discussion of this board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this one has been approved as submitted. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, John.
Okay, so the Hawks Ridge has been removed and Macklemore's been removed. The next thing on the agenda is commissioner comments. Before we do that, it's in the packet. It just didn't get on the agenda, but it's no action items, just information. Our monthly department statistic for September 2024. So there's a lot of good information here. One thing that I'll just point out a couple items on here, but the amount of roadside trash that we're picking up off the side of the road, just want people to be aware of that and be conscientious. I know a lot of times people with pickup trucks, you may put something in the back of the truck and you think it's not going to fly out. And another big truck goes by and, stuff fly out. And then some people just throw stuff out. But you can see in August, we picked up 14,540 pounds. That's basically 2 men walking the sides of the road with a driver. And then in September, they picked up 10,520 pounds. So we have picked up 107,260 pounds of garbage off the side of just county roads. So that's no state roads, that's no city roads, that's outside of all the cities, just in the county, over 107,000 pounds, one plastic bottle at a time. That's a lot of waste. So just want people to be mindful of that, and people watching this video or watching this live at home, that's something we need to be very conscientious about. Last two things I'll mention are pothole patching. You see in August we patched 737 potholes, in September 631, 3,532 for the year, and we're paving 50 miles of road this year. Glad to hear we're hearing good reports about paving. Tally is working through trying to get all the paving done before the winter. And so even with all the paving we've done in the past, all the paving we're currently doing, we're still going to patch potholes. It's a never-ending cycle. So our team does a great job. We have a dedicated truck that's set up for that the board bought a couple of years ago, and it has made a tremendous difference. That was a great decision of this board. Also, our transit is very important to our community. We're running consistently over 2,000 trips, 2,700 in August, 2,200 in September. So hats off to our transit folks. They actually take a lot of people to destinations, from jobs to doctor's appointments to the grocery stores, the drug stores, and they get out there every day and make that happen. and just want to commend them for that. All right, now for our commissioner comments. So we will start with Commissioner Blakemore first.
Just appreciate everybody coming out and been involved, a lot of good input and feedback, and a lot to think about and digest. Thank y'all.
Commissioner Eskin.
Yes, I want to thank our employees for the job that they do. I do want to ask that we follow up on this back pay and see if we can get that handled. And I'd also like to thank everybody for the information and the input that we've had tonight. It's been interesting, a lot of opinions, a lot of stuff, but I've got some notes. I do think that we need to look into the lead issue. Caught my attention got my attention. So I think that there's some good stuff came out of tonight, and appreciate y'all's working with us and patience and give us an opportunity to look into it and make some valid decisions. Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hart.
So it is an 8-inch wall pane. I found that in the drawing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. I want to, it has been education. When I was at the planning and zoning meeting the other night, I learned a lot from Mr. McClure, very intelligent person, and learned a lot about that Class 3 application that I, quite frankly, did not know a lot about. So thank you for your input. But I do want to say, let's say that we come back, and let's say all 8 requirements are met. But and you pointed this out the other night, at the bottom of that piece of writing, it says, once the planning commission has determined that all of the foregoing requirements have been satisfied, it must further find that the benefits of and needs of the proposed use are greater than any possible I'm not a lawyer, so I can't read real good. Depreciating effects and damages to the neighboring properties before Class 3 special use permit can be granted. So I think those are some pretty good words that, I learned from Mr. McClure the other night, and I sent it to our county attorney the very next day. So if you look at that, I think it says a lot about the decision we got to make there. Not next week, but the next are probably, in my opinion, the 2 most important days for this country. Number 1 is Election Day. November the 5th is Election Day. I don't care who you vote for, but you need to vote, because men and women have died on the battlefield for your right to vote, and you need to get out and vote. Number 2 is Veterans Day. And there's a lot of great events going on in the county for Veterans Day. I'm going to tell you about a few of them. On November the 8th at Lafayette High School and Rescind High School, they have veterans programs. If you're a veteran, get to one of those programs. If you're not a veteran, get there as well. November the 9th, they're having the first annual Veterans Day Parade here in Lafayette. The American Legion worked really hard on that. Lafayette High School's had input into that, so get out and see that. And the last thing, November the 12th, they're having a Veterans Dinner at the Civic Center. I think Mark's going to represent the county there, being a vet that he is, and get to one of those events, support those veterans. But 2, in my opinion, 2 of the most important days in the year. Robert?
Thank you, sir. And since we will have a meeting after Veterans Day,
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you and Mark for your service to our country.
Yes, sir.
Thank you both. I want to appreciate everyone who came out tonight to speak about the sporting clay range. I think some great points were made with regard to noise, environmental impact, potential danger to children and citizens. I think my biggest takeaway was just a change in the way of life that you live on the mountain. I think that was my biggest takeaway. And I think that your voices have been heard, and I think that your concerns have been noted, and I appreciate everyone voicing your concerns. I think it's a very important topic, so thank everybody who spoke. I want to thank our employees. You guys do a wonderful job keeping the county going, and I just appreciate your hard work and your dedication to the county. I do want to say a special thank you to John personally. John, you did a lot of hard work on the ordinance revisions, and just certainly do appreciate it. You did a great job on that. So back to you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. I do want to thank everybody for being professional and courteous tonight and waiting your time to speak. And, it says a lot about us as a community to be able to come together and have tough conversations and still be professional and courteous to each other, because we all live in this county, and like I read earlier in that statement, we all just want the best for our community. That's what we're all here to do. but it needs everybody to be involved and everyone to be engaged. And as Commissioner Hart said, everybody needs to get out and vote. So I know early voting has only been at the courthouse, but I think that opens up, I think maybe Saturday to the other precincts. So
25th.
Or the 25th, okay. So check the website and the information. So I know the other precincts will have early voting as well. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, let me just read that. So early voting, so Walker County Courthouse here on Duke Street from October 15th to November 1st from 8 to 5. And then on Saturday, the 19th, and also October the 26th from 9 to 5. And then the satellite locations, which will be Rock Springs there at the Technical College, Rossville, McFarland, which is there at the Rossville City Hall, then Chickamauga on Lee Clarkson, which is there behind the library and the city's building, and then Fairland up on Lula Lake Road on Lookout Mountain. Those will also be open starting on Saturday, October the 26th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. On that Saturday, and then Monday through Friday from October the 28th through November the 1st from 8 to 5. And so the early voting, you can vote at any precinct. It's not the one you're assigned to that you have to vote at, but early voting, you can vote at any of those locations, any of those times that's convenient for you. But on election day, you got to go to your assigned precinct. So thank you for that, Mr. Askew. We do have a need for an executive session. So I do need to make a motion that we go into what should be a brief executive session to discuss a real estate item. So I make that motion. Do we have a second by Commissioner Askew? All in favor, say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned. We will return after our executive session. Okay, it's Thursday, October the 24th. It is 9:45 p.m. Call us back to order. We did have our executive session. There's no business to come out of executive session. So do we have a motion to adjourn and close out this meeting?
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Hart. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Blakemore. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.